Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wisconsin Wrestler Podcast. I am your host, Teague Fenwick, coming to you from Holmen. Last week I said Holmen, Wisconsin. I don't think I need to specify that for this show, but joining me as always is my co-host, Steve Lurkwin. Steve, good to be back.
Good to be here, man. Excited for this. Excited for this three-part coaching series here. We got I know we did this last year, and it was a big hit. And this as well. I mean, we were talking to this guy before. I'm kind of leaving a little suspense here, but man, I wish I could have recorded what we already talked about. So I'm excited where we're going. But our three-part series of interviewing our three state championship coaches, one in each division. We're starting out with D2 tonight. So excited for this one.
And speaking of that, introducing our guest tonight, he is the head coach of the Division II state champions, Amery. He also was a state champion from St. Croix Falls and a part of St. Croix Falls team state championship team in 1991. Seems like everywhere he goes, he's winning state titles or something of some sort. I'm talking about none other than Mike Kelly. Mike, glad to have you on.
Hey, thanks you guys. I really appreciate you having me on, and I've really been excited ever since you guys contacted me. I've been looking forward to this.
Also, a little bit of a funny story before we get into your wrestling history here. I think I called you Mike Smith about 3 or 4 times to Steve the last week. And I was wondering why I kept doing that. And then I was doing a little studying because I know Steve might throw something at me trivia wise tonight.
Yeah.
But I realized in 2019, Amery's runner up at 152 was Mike Smith. So I think that was just in the back of my head the whole time.
Yeah, that definitely could be. Definitely.
So, Mike, you gave us a little preview before the podcast. And like I said, it makes me very excited for this. But everything leading up to Amery, tell us your wrestling story from the first day you put on wrestling shoes to when you started coaching at Amery.
All right. I started about 4 years old. My older brothers wrestled, and I was like, I want to be part of it. And my dad, I don't remember, but he told me I wasn't old enough. He lied, said I went to the St. Croix tournament probably. And I don't know, it's probably first grade or whatever, probably a big moment, maybe first or second grade. My older brother, Pat, I was at a tournament he took me to, and I was wrestling one of my buddies that I beat multiple times, and I lost. And he pulled me outside, picked me up. He said, if you ever take it easy on someone again, I'm never taking you again. I'll make you walk home. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, every time I wrestle is 100%, and I'm going to go after it. And I don't even remember if I took, why I lost the match or whatever. And then, I continued through. We had a good youth program going. I lived out in the country. We had a great group of country kids that were, hardworking and strong, and got into high school, and probably was first or second year. Harry Johnson came over. Keith O'Donnell was the head coach. He had really pushed a lot of strength. And at that time, St. Croix Falls wrestlers were super strong. I mean, we were beyond strong. People saw us. They're like, oh my goodness, these guys, it's insane how big they are. I mean, I was wrestled 140, and I probably at my junior year, I benched easily like 320. And by my senior year, it was like 350. And I think I wrestled 45, maybe in the off season, I weighed 155, 160. But I wasn't the only guy benching that much. We had a lot of guys, Todd Christensen's, all these guys, Ross Kuhn, Scotty, they were all benching a lot. They all looked the part. And Harry came in, Harry Johnson, and he got us believing, hey, we're the best. You're the best guys. You're training each other because you're all the best. And it just continually went with that. And that really helped us really believe in, why all of a sudden could we win when we couldn't win before. Two things. Keith O'Donnell with the weights, really pushing the weights when I look back. And then Harry Johns, hey, he brought in the technique. He got the work. He got that kind of thing. One thing in my life, as I look at things, what started like, hey, this push, and we'll talk about that more later of like the crazy training, Well, I would do a lot of stuff. I was in the country, and back then there wasn't the internet, there wasn't these things. So you would hear stories, and the stories would multiply and they get bigger and bigger, you know. So one thing I did was I said, hey, I'm going to run to school, the morning practice.
Wow.
Well, I live like 14 miles from the
That's
school.
right.
And it's like, and then the Hans at about the 5 mile mark, I would pass the Hans, Mike and Jason Hahn, and who were, Jason was a couple times state place winner, but they were on the team. They said, hey, when you come by our house, we'll jog with you, you know? So I get up. I don't remember what time, you know, I get up, I jogged at their house. They're there waiting at the driveway. We jogged to school and go to practice. And I remember thinking, oh man, I lost like 7 pounds or whatever. You know, I was so happy. I was so much lighter. I remember, and we're talking, I don't know, it's January. There was snow on the ground. I remember jogging by streams and hearing the water and thinking I'll be good and take a drink, you know? And that went from like, hey, he did this to, holy man, this guy's running every morning 14 miles with his boots on and all this. And the story expanded and people were like, they were scared.
Yeah.
You know, and just a quick offshoot of that story is 20 years later, I run into Mike Hahn and I'm talking to him about, remember when we did that? And he's like, yeah, I'm still really mad about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you don't remember? And I'm like, no. He said, you don't remember? I couldn't make it. My mom picked me up on the way to work and drove me to school. And I'm like, no. And he's like, he runs marathons now, but
Really?
it still haunted him to this day that he didn't
Wow.
make that run with us. And I'm like, man, that's powerful stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But that was some of the initial stuff that I started pushing myself and trying to learn as, you know, as I wrestled, knew I wanted to coach, how do people think, how to get the most out of people and how to get the most out of myself.
Mhm.
Well, after, you know, we won state as a team. It was the old way where, you know, the individuals that went to state got the score.
I think it was the last year for that.
Yes, it was.
Yep. How many guys did you have? How many individuals did you have at state?
We had 4 at state and 3 of us were in the finals.
Wow.
So we had 2 champs and Scott was third. Me and Todd Christensen was champs. Scott was second and Dan Clark was third. And so we had four placers and it was enough points then to get it done, which was awesome. It was a great experience. We had a blast. And the next year I came back and ended up getting upset in the semifinals. And ended up coming back for third. And it was, you know, it was like anything. It was sad. You know, I was kind of ticked off, but really my grades weren't very good in high school. I probably graduated. I probably had like a 1.7. Wow. So Andy Ryan calls me. He's the coach at Wisconsin at the time. Hey, we're real interested in I sent him my transcripts. He's like, there's nothing we can do. Go to junior college, you know. And so I actually, they had a Minnesota Wisconsin Classic back then where we wrestled the guys from Minnesota, and I beat a Carlson that was signed with the Gophers and somebody else that was another guy who was wrestling Division I somewhere. I beat them both. I'm rooming with a family in Minnesota, and it happened to be a junior college coach. I don't remember the junior college. They dropped wrestling since, but he talks me in and he's like, yeah, come to the junior college. I don't really know what it is at the time. So I'm like, yeah, I'll sign up and go. He said, let's get you some summer classes and get you going. And it's right on the Mississippi River. Well, I'm driving to school first day. And, you know, I just been graduated a couple of weeks and they started summer school. Well, I'm like, wow, look at this river. So I just pull over and start fishing.
Nice.
Next day, go there, fish. The coach calls my dad. Hey, Mike ain't even been to class yet. What's going on? My dad, I come home, he starts chewing me out. I call my sister. She's in the Marines. I said, can you wrestle in the Marines? She said, yep. Like 2 weeks later, there was an opening. I was gone.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to Paris Island, South Carolina, boot camp. And, you know, my whole thought process, hey, I'm going to wrestle. And really, it's a little harder to wrestle in the Marines than I thought, that, you know, than they told me. But I was able to get, they had a tryout or whatever, and I was able to make the all Marine team. And, I was 18 years old, thought I was pretty tough or whatever. Most of the guys in the Marines were 26, 27. I think on every weight class at that time, and it was mainly Greco, they were like 2 or 3 deep, top 8 in the nation. Like, I mean, Keith Wilson was one of my guys, my weight class. He was a Olympic trial runner up a couple times, different times. I wrestled a guy for 4 years and never scored a point on him.
Wow.
Actually 3 years and never scored a point on him. And yeah. And there were some tough cats. It was tough. I remember, they were just smashing my ribs and everything like that with the gut wrenches. But anyway, we'll keep it rolling. I got out of the Marines. It's a great experience. I met some, really, we had Olympians on the team, all this thing. Greg Gibson was a guy who wrestled late in his life and it was still real dominant. We had a lot of tough guys to learn from and just learn techniques and weight cutting and training, all these things. So I got out of the Marines, and I actually had met my wife around that time, and she lived in Illinois. So I moved in with her, and I had no clue anything about college around the area. So I stopped off at College Lake County, was right down the road from us. They had a wrestling team. It's junior college, good start. I was a little scared. I didn't do a bunch of school work in the Marines, so I'm thinking I got a 1.7. Now I'm in there. I just want to wrestle in college. Sure. So I go to Lake County. They don't have much of a wrestling. I remember I went to Stevens Point Open. First match, I had a Division I kid from Northern Illinois, beat him. They're like, what? And it turns out that kid's dad is the coach for Harper Junior College.
Okay.
And I find out this Lake County isn't any good. I go to Harper to transfer, and the coach, he's a great guy. His name's Norm Lovelace, one of the best coaches ever. But he says to me, Mike, I told my son, if you beat him one more time, you're my new son, and right then I'm like, I love this guy. And they brought me in there, and I just to go quick as we can here, I transfer then to Harper College, get my associates there. It took 2 years, a total with one in Lake County. I redshirted, wrestled one at Harper, was All-American at Harper Junior College. That's where I started my Midland streak. They had never had a guy go to Midlands. They got a bid. I went. I'm sitting in the stands. I looked through the thing, and they have a big.
What year was this, Mike, when you started it?
This was 1997.
97. Okay.
97. So they on the light, I don't know, the big scoreboard, they flash a bunch of questions, and you try to answer them while you're sitting around or whatever. And they had a book, and I'm looking through, and there's like Mike Schmedlin from Cal Poly or something. He got 15 in a row. And right there, I looked over at my wife. She was never missed the Midlands. I'm like, I'm going to beat that record.
Nice.
And then all my buddies around are like, you're crazy. I'm like, I'm going to get the record. I'm going to get 16. And anyway, so I go from Harper, and believe it or not, my brother-in-law owns like most of Northern Illinois University at the time. He owns a bunch of the housing, all these things. So my wife's father is, at the time, he's like 78, and he's living by himself. So Northern's not that far of a drive, but I could spend some time with him too. And Margie, my wife, was happy if I could do that. So I was like, yeah, I'll go to Northern, can wrestle, got a scholarship. I can see your dad a bunch, your brother's right in the area, all these things. So it was going to be a great fit. I went there, hated it. I don't know. Me and the coach just didn't get along too well. A bunch of my buddies from the other junior college went to Eastern Illinois.
Okay.
So, which was a little farther, like a 4-hour drive from my house. So I transferred to Eastern. Back then, they must have let you transfer a lot, I guess, than more than they do now. So I ended up at Eastern, and then there you had Coach Hughes, and
I'm sorry, what city is Eastern Illinois in?
It's in Charleston, Illinois.
Okay.
Just like a farm town, just a great little school. We had Matt Hughes, Vladdy. He was Vladimir Anashenko, a Russian that came over. That was just a killer, just a middleweight, just a bruiser. And obviously Matt Hughes was a bruiser. And then the head coach was this he looked like a lumberjack, have a big mustache, Ralph McLaughlin. The guy was like 50 years old. And I would look up, say I'm wrestling, I look up, and he'd be on a kid that was like ranked in the nation. And he would be tying his shoe while he's wrestling the guy, like on top of him. And I was like, man, and he was just like, take off his shirt, still a 6-pack. I mean, we tried to talk him in to go wrestle a couple tournaments because he was just insanely still good, for his age, for any age. And he just had, he had the good strength and all that. And, at that time, at Eastern Illinois, had a lot of good seasons. I wrestled 2 seasons there. Had some, won some tournaments, Eastern Michigan Open, and some others. But back then, they didn't have it like today. So we would go to our regional, and only the champ was guaranteed to go to nationals. Yep. So and we had like Northern Iowa, Marquette had a program back then, Air Force, Wyoming. So the kid at Northern Iowa, I could never get past. So I would beat multiple guys that went to the nationals, but I never got to get through, had I, it's just the way it was,
right.
and it just happened, and that's the way it is. And they changed it. And, now you can qualify just by beating the guys during the year, get the points or whatever. So then after that, I went down the Olympic Training Center. My old Marine coach, Dan Mello, who was an Olympian, he had took over part of the Greco, and he brought me in, and I went there for a little, maybe like 3 weeks, and trained. And they said, hey, you could be a resident athlete here, and let's do it. And I was like, I didn't really, I just wanted to get back and get coaching. And it was too big. My wife was a nurse. We got a house. It was just too much, but it was a good, just another way to learn, see some other training, other ideas, all these things, and just be around some other people too. And I actually met Ray Brinzer there. He was a guy I always wanted to kind of hang out with, just to pick his brain a little bit, because there's so many crazy stories about him, and he fit the bill good. So it was great to see him. But and then I just continue on. Went to started coaching back at Harper College, and once we started there, 2001 I think was first year I was there, I believe. Right around that thing, we were national champs. We had a real tough guy named Mike Rio, who ended up fighting in the UFC too.
Nice. Yep. And
then we had Clay Guida. He was behind Rio. He wasn't even the starter for us. And then we just continued, me and Coach Loprino over there. I would run the room. He would make sure the guys are eligible, recruit them, do all that. He'd bring me 50 guys, and I'd run out 30 of them. I mean, that's really what it was. I mean,
sure.
we were the beautiful thing about junior college is, at that time especially, you could go to all the open tournaments. Yep. So I had, I tell the kids, we're working hard, because you're going to wrestle a guy from Iowa. You're going to wrestle a guy from Michigan. You're going to wrestle a guy from Michigan State. They don't want to lose to junior college kids. Why would I want you to send you out there to get just beat up and embarrassed? I was like, no, think if you win money, you're winning a scholarship.
Right.
And that's our mentality. And I knew what kind of training they were doing. We did it as hard. We just didn't have the same amount of talent in the room.
Sure.
That's the only difference. I mean, we were going beyond what most people ever think to go. And it paid off, just so we're not keeping you here all night. I believe it was 5 national championships when I was, I would think I was there probably like 12 years. I think we won 5 national titles, maybe 3 runner-ups. I mean, we were always competing, always getting guys to Division I afterwards. I had Clay Guida come out of there, Curtis Blades. He's been big in the UFC lately. He was my last national champ there, 2011. I got a guy, Gary Jackson, whose name is Angelo Dawkins. He was the WWE tag team champion there for the longest reigning in Raw history. Me and Coach Tato, a buddy of mine who helped start and assisted coach with me, Jerry Briscoe ran into me at the national duels and was like, hey, he was looking, we had 2 heavyweights, Adam Shelfon, who ended up going to Indiana and was All-American for them, has wins over Tony Nelson, some others. But this other kid he was from Ohio, came in. Jerry Briscoe, hey, we want him. We're going to give him a tryout. My buddy, Coach Tato, moved him in his house because he'd been in JUCO for like 4 years, So we took him out of school, just trained him. We had a little gym called Old School Wrestling. I did everything we could think that would be good. 200 guys tried out. 2 guys made it. He was one of them. Wow. And now he's like, if you ever watch the Street Profits on WWE, he's on SmackDown now, but he was on Raw for a long time. But he made it to the big time, and he called me and Rich Tato, and when they were in Minneapolis, got us like front row seats and took us out to dinner afterwards. It was great.
That's awesome.
I mean, a lot of people, they don't think, but I've been able to put my hands on some pretty good guys and really train them hard. And then, Clay and Jay Guida, they came to me one day and they're like, hey, Kelly, we just quit our jobs and all we're going to do is fight. So we're going to be out in the parking lot. And they like, Clay had a truck with a topper on it, and he had a mattress in the back. He said, hey, when you go into practice, because I worked at elementary school, I would come over and coach the college. He said, when you come in, knock on the door of the back there of the truck, and that'll wake me up, and I'll come in and warm up, and I'll be ready for live, And then he would go from our live, and then he would go down to a gym and train like MMA stuff and grappling. And he had a fight coming up, and he's like, hey, we need a guy. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not interested, So he finally talked me in. I got down to a place called Gilbert Grappling. With Joey Gilbert, he's 4-time Michigan champ. There's a thing on YouTube. You can see him wrestling Brands at the Big Tens. He launches Brands, has him pinned. They don't call it. There's all controversy, but Brands ends up beating him pretty good. But he was, I think, 4th that year in D1. But so he has this Gilbert Grappling. They do grappling. I go in there 2 days in. He's like, yeah, you got to go to the tournament, Kelly. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, this is perfect for you. So I go to a couple Nagas, win the belts, win the swords, all these things. I'm like, yeah, I really like this. It's pretty good. Most of these guys don't wrestle very good. I learned how not to get submitted or whatever. And then one time, and Joey calls me, I don't know, it was like 11 at night or something. And he's like, Kelly, USA Wrestling just put out grappling. They're going to start it. He's like, you need to do this. This is all you. Well, about that time, I just, not that long after I got out of Marines, this story kind of changed me a little bit. I'd say a lot. My best buddy from high school, his name's Jeff T. Walt. Every 4th of July, we would go to Siren with his family, and we run a 5K. It was a 5-mile run at that time. And his uncle would always talk crap all summer, never train. And then we'd always train, and we beat him. And every year he'd say, next year I'll beat you. But he would just talk smack, but we always beat him, So when I was in the Marines, I was like, man, I'm going to come back and just surprise him and beat his uncle, Well, I kept pushing it off next year. Well, pretty soon I call him. I said, hey, I'm coming this year. He's like, yeah, I forgot. I didn't want to tell you. I know you were just getting out or whatever. My uncle died of cancer like a month ago. Yeah. So I'm like, oh man, I'm like, I'm never pushing anything off. I'm going to do what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And then that 4th of July, it was my brother-in-law's 50th birthday. So it was a big party. Like midnight, we're in Illinois. I said, I got in the car with my wife. I drove straight to Siren, Wisconsin. My wife, I got out of the car, lined up, and ran. I mean, literally, I literally got out of the car, didn't even sign up, nothing, just ran it.
Right.
You know, and I said to myself at that point, I'm never missing anything again.
Yeah.
And then these trials start. USA Wrestling is starting to grapple, and there's a trial in like California, and this is where the insanity started. And thank God for my wife is I'm like, Margie, this is like on a Thursday. I say, hey, I gotta go to tournaments this weekend. I gotta qualify. She's like, where at? It's like California. She's like, what? I literally flew out to Long Beach Airport, got out, weighed in, wrestled, and flew back that same day.
Wow.
And my wife's like, whatever. That's all she says. Whatever. And then so I end up, whatever. I make a world team. First one in grappling. All right. And meanwhile, I'm still coaching the college. I'm doing the Midlands. I mean, we could be here all night talking about, I mean, I made, like I said, I looked and saw that 15-year record, 15 consecutive. And yeah, I did that. I got 16. Yeah. All right. And, all that was going on. Sometimes there was so much going on. And it will take another Zoom, a whole meeting to get all this. But anyway, I got all that going on. This grappling thing is really hitting off. Gary Abbott, USA Wrestling, they're all for it. First one, make the world. First, I just wanted, hey, if I can make a world trials, hey, I qualified. I said, I just want to get to the trials. I get to the trials. I start wrestling. I'm like, hey, this year, the top 3 get to go to the worlds because there's the first one. They're getting it going. I'm like, hey, I can do this, you know. I come through. Who do I have to face? Keith Wilson, the guy from the Marines that I never scored a point on. But we're talking, he at the time, like he's 40 something now.
Yeah, right.
And I'm younger. I'm like, if I beat this guy who I could never score a point on, who like I thought was the biggest animal I've ever saw, I'm like, holy man. But in my head, I'm like, I gotta be able to beat him. And I remember the match. I shot in, took him down. I'm like, oh my God, I finally scored on the guy. And I got 2 takedowns on him, and I think I won 4-1 or something. And actually, he was really excited as the years went by. He's like, I always follow you, and all this. But it was just that was a good turning point for me. Like, hey, I really turned a corner here, and I can do this. And I end up we go to Turkey, and I'm there, and I'm like, my sister-in-law, both of them are there. My Aunt Pat comes. My sister's actually my wife's brother had just died in a plane crash. He had his own jet. He was flying to Florida to sell some land, and he crashed in Georgia and died. Wow. So it was really tough right then at that moment. But both of my sister-in-laws were able to come and go to the worlds with my wife. And we had, it was just good for the timing, and both of my sister-in-laws, honestly, have been really like, they're like my biggest fans. My Aunt Pat, we call her Aunt Pat's my wife's sister, but she's a huge fan, always bragging me up and doing it. And my other sister-in-law, Kathy, they're always happy to see how I'm doing. But we go to Turkey. I'm like, hey, man, maybe I can win a medal, have some good scraps. I mean, close calls. We go and end up with a bronze. I'm like, holy man, this is huge. This is amazing. Well, the next year rolls around. I'm getting ready for the trials. And my wife's like, how long are you going to do this? I'm like, what do you mean? I just won a world medal. Because we've been traveling a lot. We've been doing a lot. I'm like, sure. Nah, I said, I just would like to make it one more time. Well, I come home the next day, my oldest daughter and my wife baked the cake one more time. They're like, if you can do one more. Well, needless to say, I did it like 10 more, and it just continually became a joke, one more, what we did, one more, and it became a part of life, and just insane, I don't know. I think it's been like 12 world teams, maybe 8 world medals.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of other ones. But a great story that I'd like to share before we get too far off of it is in the prime of it. This is like things are going out of control on just the ball is rolling. So I win I go to the worlds in the top 2, the whole world, I guess they're going to have a combat games. So it's called the Sport Accord Games. It's like the Olympics of combat sports. They do it every 4 years. They did one in China 4 years earlier. So all of a sudden they announced, hey, we're going to have half the weight classes are going to qualify for the Sport Accord Games. Happen to be my weight class. Well, I get second at the worlds that year. I lose to a guy from Spain who was actually really great in like double overtime. And sad, but I was still, hey, I made this Sport Accord game and it's in Russia. And I was like, hey, I always want to go to Russia. It's in St. Petersburg. So, it's like, I don't know, like right in the middle of school, so I go for a weekend, I call in sick and whatever. And I go to Russia. I come back and I ended up I took 4th, beat a really good Russian, lost to kind of a arch nemesis I had from Poland. It's kind of funny talking about like my arch rivals are from Poland and Russia and these places, which is cool. But so I get back and my friend Rich Tato, who we do a lot, he calls me. He's like, Mike, you're not gonna believe this. And I'm like, what? He's like, Russia wants to bring you back. And I'm like, when? He's like, in 2 weeks. I'm like, what? He said, it's all paid for. They're starting a new, they're trying to get another sport in the Olympics for winter. Winter hadn't had a new sport for a while. So they were talking about this, like run, shoot, wrestle, all these things outside. And I'm like, what? And he's like, well, they're going to do a no-gi grappling. If you can come in there, they're trying to make it a world championship. They'll fly you in. Everything's free. I call my wife. I was like, well, Mark, I just start laughing. I'm like, I don't even know how to tell you. Said, Russia wants me to come back. She's like, when? I said, 2 weeks. She's like, are you crazy? I said, I don't care about my job right now. If they fire me, this is a once in a lifetime. I said, and she's like, it's all free. I'm like, it's all free. And if I win, I get like 1,000 euros or something. She's like, all right, go for it. So I will tell this story as quick as I can. It's insane. So my buddy tells, hey, make sure just in case you win, they bring the anthem and bring a flag. So the morning I'm leaving, I'm in my house in Hebron there. I pull down my flag off the pole, fold it up, put it in my backpack. I head out to Russia. So I'd been to St. Petersburg 2 weeks ago.
Wait, did you just say, I'm sorry, go back. Did you just say Hebron?
Hebron.
Is that when you were coaching? Where were you coaching?
I was coaching at Harper still.
Oh, okay. Never mind. All right. Go back.
Yep.
Keep going.
So I get on the plane, fly to Moscow. There's a guy got a little sign up, says, hey, Mike Kelly. I get in, I'm following him. I'm trying to talk to him. He's like, no English. I'm like, all right. So I get in the car, we start driving. I fall asleep, wake up, we're still driving. Fall asleep again. It's dark. There's woods all on the sides. I'm like, where the heck are we going? I mean, we were in the car like 4 hours.
Jeez.
We get out and there's like, looks like 2 buildings on a dirt road. And he's like, you're here. Gives me my bag and he drives away. And I'm like standing in a dirt road, with puddles.
Were there other cars around? Were there people?
Nothing. No people, no nothing. So there's a little light on in this building. It's a pretty good sized building, I walk in and there's a guy full like military gear sitting watching the TV laughing. Oh, got the full hat on, everything. And he's like, looks at me. I look at him. He's like, in there. And I go walk in and there's like a like the gym or whatever. And my buddy's there already, Tato, because he got invited to be a ref or whatever in Russell too. So I hear him like he's like teaching guys stuff. And there's like 200 people watching him and none of them know English, and he's talking. He's like, Kelly, what do you think of this place? And I'm like, he's like, wait till you see it. It's insane. He's like, it's like Rocky Balboa stuff,
Yeah.
So the next morning we walk around, we talk to some people. They don't know us. It's like pretty, it was pretty like shanty town. It was just in the middle of nowhere, but they had like a little Olympic training center thing there. So they got this big tournament they're coming up. So we come in there and there's people from mainly just Russia and Kazakhstan or something. We're like the only Americans these people have ever seen.
Sure.
So they're all kind of scared at first. And then I go wrestle my first match and they start cheering. And then this little guy, maybe like 8 years old, he's like by me, he's bringing me water. He's like doing all this stuff, it's like trying to help me out. He don't know any English, and these guys try to come up to Rich and they want to buy his like shirts and stuff, his rash guards and shorts and stuff. He's like, man, the guy just wants to buy it for like $200. I'm like, what? So I had this. The next round I go, I have this real awesome rash guard. I take it off. I give it to the kid. He's all pumped up, He's like, I can't believe, I don't know what he's thinking, but I could see he's pumped up. Well, he leaves and he goes home. He comes back and he brings me a hat that must have been like a winter hat or something. He's like, oh, for you, And I'm like, oh, that's cool, So anyway, we'll go through. I make the finals. And I got a Russian who was banned from the USA Wrestling squad for he had illegal substance. But Unifight, these guys let him in, because I had known him. But he is big judo guy. So I'm warming up and I have these awesome American flag shorts, especially made by USA Wrestling just for the grappling team. And they're my favorite. And I said to Tato, I was warming up. I said, I told God if I win, I'm going to give these shorts to that kid, And he's like, well, you better do it then if you do,
Yeah.
So I'm in the middle of Russia. All this going on, wrestling this Russian. I mean, we're talking, everyone is going insane. I mean, they love us. It's incredible how, and so we go into overtime, 0-0. And really, if no one scores on that one, it's a ref decision by who's more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I shoot like 5 times. I don't know what to call. I get the call in Russia. The place goes crazy. Kids going crazy. His dad's going crazy. I looked down and I just took off the shorts right there and gave them to the kid.
Yeah.
The kid's running around that little place, holding the shorts up over his head, and everyone's going crazy.
Wow.
I'm just like, and Tato's like, Kelly, you're in your underwear. And he gives me a pair of shorts, put it on. And then the coolest thing was, all right, they got to play the anthem. So I had borrowed a CD from my school, actually. And all of a sudden, there's my flag that I brought, and they goes up, they do all the ceremony. And then they came and they said, hey, we got these other flags. Can we keep your flag?
Sure.
And I'm like, yeah. And they raised it in the rafters for us. And everyone cheered. It was like just insane,
The flag
and then we stayed
is still there
from Hebron there hanging in their gym.
Wow, that's cool.
That was insane, and we probably took 1,000 pictures. Every single person wanted to meet us. And then funny, just like, I don't know, 6 years later, I'm in Moscow airport and a guy comes up to me. He's like, shows me, and he pulls up and he was at that tournament and he had a picture with his kid,
Nice.
And he was on, it was just hilarious that I don't know, it just turned out really good, and it was just a great story that a lot of people would you just live for that stuff. And then people are like, hey, why you still wrestle? Because if I didn't, I wouldn't have that story. And
That's
I
right.
mean, we have a lot of other ones like it,
You thought you were going to get offed, they're going to take you to some woods and, leave you for dead.
Tato, my buddy Tato was already there. He said he was dying laughing just because he knew, because he was scared to death too. He's like, we drove for hours. And because Moscow, to get around there is like so insanely crazy to try to move. There's so many people and the traffic's so bad. But one more, I'm going to give you one more quick one here that's a really worth it that people don't believe.
We're here for it, man.
2015. All right. They have the veterans in Moscow. So they call me again. They said, I mean, this is, people are like, why are you always in shape? Why you do this? Because I can get a call tomorrow and they'll be say, hey, these guys want you to go somewhere. You got to be ready. They want you to go there and compete, you know? So I get a call. Rich said, hey, they want to fly you out to this. It's the veterans. Man, it's like your age group, be easy, you know? And I'm like, yeah, I'll go. And, you know, and we get to stay at Moscow. They'll have someone take us around and show us everything. It'll be a great trip. Got to wrestle one day, get like 6 days in Moscow. I'm like, perfect. It's in the summer. I got nothing going on. Let's do it. So we get there and Tato said, I'm like, hey, I always got to find a place to work out. And I was going 77 kilos. So I want to make sure my weight's on, go work out a little bit, get the flight out of my legs or whatever. So he's like, hey, I know where their Olympic training center is. Let's go there. So we go over there and we go up and there's like an assistant coach there. He doesn't know any English. We're trying to explain, hey, we want to wrestle, you know? And he's like, nah, the team is training somewhere else in Russia right now. The room's closed. We're like, no, just a little bit. He's like, no, it's closed. So we walk down the stairs and the like Olympic boxing coach is there. And he's like, you want to train? Come with me. So I'm like, all right, you know, we'll go in there. I'm saying we're wrestlers, you know, he knew a little bit of English.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of guys that are about to start practice. So he puts us on these dots, you know, and we're all boxing and doing it. I'm like, hey, I'm sweating. I don't care. And the guy's like screaming at me like I'm one of his guys. I mean, he's literally like screaming. I'm like, Tato, I'm not that fast here, you know, and he's just hollering at us. He's yelling at them. We go for like hour and a half. And then like guys start gloving up and I'm like, there's two rings there. You know, I'm like, I ain't boxing these guys, you know? And then he's like, you do. And he makes some wrestling motion. He's go in the ring and wrestle, you know? Yeah. So me and Tato we go and wrestle, check our weight. I'm like 3 under, go back. The next day is the weigh-in. I get up in the morning. I can't even walk. My calves are like, we're bouncing on our toes for like an hour doing boxing stuff. I can't even move. I'm like, what are we
wrestling? You wrestle on a boxing canvas, not on a wrestling.
Yes, we practice on a canvas. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
That's right.
So we go to the tournament. I weigh in. The next day, you know, it's the night before weigh-in for that one. We go and all the Russian guys bumped up to 84 kilos. And I'm like, so I have no one. So they're like, hey, you have to move up, you know? So I end up having to move up. I won mine out of default and then moved up and the guys ended up having to go up the weight anyway. So I really just should have went 84 and been happy the whole time, but that's the way it goes sometimes. But we, you know, it took 3-4 days before my calves felt better, you know?
Yeah. Different kind of workout.
And the guy was just like, you would have thought we were his prized pupils, the way he was going after us. It was just hilarious. And then we actually got to the people that were leading us around were in their car. They got a Porsche or whatever, you know, Porsche Cayenne or whatever we're riding in, and they play the Scorpions come on, and I'm like, nice. That Gorky Park, you know, and they're like, oh, you want to go to Gorky Park? I'm like, yeah, that would be awesome. So we went to Gorky Park and we were playing the song and all the people were singing when we'd walk around. And probably most people that I have on like Snapchat or whatever, they heard that song. I sent it to everyone for like 2 years straight every day. Yep. You know, they're like, you really like that song. It just reminded me. But anyway, and really wrestling wise, you know, I just kept wrestling like crazy and getting after it. And the more I did, more opportunities opened up. And I mean, I've done, you know, I had down in Illinois, they would be the like small town cage fights going on or whatever. They just call me and say, hey, like 4 people dropped. Will you grapple a guy? And I'd be like, yeah. And they'd let my wife come in and my kids for free. And then I would get a song and go out there and it'd be a grappling match against the guy who doesn't even know how to wrestle. Sure. I'm like, everyone would be in the crowd, be like, you're the toughest guy ever, you know? And it would just be so fun, you know? And a bunch of us did, you know, we're doing that kind of stuff. And you know, one other thing I'd like to add before is just some of the training, that thought process I went, man, this is probably right now, this is the first time in a long time I haven't had like someone living with me that's wanting to train. I mean, I have guys out of college, they'd be like, hey, I want to go in the Marines. Actually, I got a guy, Zach. He was like he's in MARSOC, scout sniper, the whole works. Like he just came and lived with me and trained and really just learned the mind concept. You know, a good example would be a guy, Sal Sorrenzioni. He was an Army Ranger, but before he was, when I was training him in 2007, he always said this world medal that I won in 2007 was partial his, and he's correct, because he was the type of guy he could outrun me. So he'd run his mouth about it or whatever. So I was his coach. We go, hey, we're gonna go to the track and run. He'd do a lap. He'd lap me or whatever, and I would just keep running until I lapped him, and then or passed him, you know. And then I would just be like, all right, time's up. I win. And he would get so mad. And then we say the next day we go, and it might take an hour and a half.
Sure.
But I would break him sooner or later. And then as soon as I would pass him, I just say, yeah, I won. Time's up.
There you go. Right.
The guy, he would get so mad, but the guy pushed me insanely crazy because we both didn't, you know, we didn't want to lose to each other and that. So, but that kind of attitude, and even like when I was training Zach for the Marines there, you know, I would say, hey, whatever we wear that day to school or whatever, that's what we're going to train in. And we go running. Like, man, I get pulled over by cars. They'd be like, hey, you guys need to ride? No, we're just training, you know, just to build that attitude of, it doesn't matter if I forgot my shoes, or it doesn't matter. I put on any shoes and wrestle. I don't really care, you know, and just that mentality is just a good thing.
So Mike, because I know that you did some time coaching with Coach Fader in Whitewater, is that correct? And as well, a little bit of Parkside, correct?
Well, actually, Coach Fader is a good friend of mine, and actually was talked to him last night. But he had been let go from Whitewater, and then they had hired a new guy, Ned Shuck, and they had called me because I was close, and they thought it'd be a good fit, you know. So it actually was nice. I was at Parkside at that time, and they had a pretty good coaching staff. I shot up over there. I had been at Harper for a long time. We just started not seeing eye to eye, I guess. And then I jumped over to Parkside, and then Whitewater called and said, hey, we got a full-time gig. You can teach here and coach. So that's pretty much where I was at with that. So I never actually coached with Fader, but I used to train up there in the summer a lot, because they were like 40 minutes from my house. And he's a great guy, and he did a lot of good things in there.
Well, where I was going with that is, with all these things that you've done, and you kept saying it. What's your wife's first name?
Margie.
I was going to say, we should get Margie on for a podcast. And because I tell you what, she sounds like a saint, man. She's got to be one of the most understanding women I've ever heard of.
Well, she knew what we're, getting into. And I'm telling you, like, people, like most people say, hey, I'm into wrestling. We're not into it. It's our life,
That's right.
We don't, at this point, we don't even watch, like, no one even watches any other sport except wrestling, and even my wife, she'd be like, I still don't know what's going on. I just know if they raise his hand, he wins, and she will yell super loud for me or any of the Amery guys now. But like, she almost got in a fight with someone at Baldwin at the regional because she was yelling, because we're winning so much there, to get mad hearing her yell. I was in Las Vegas. I'd won like the Masters Nationals, and I was in elevator with one of the Army coaches, and he was like, man, Kelly, there you got some super fan out there. I couldn't believe how loud it was. And I was like, yeah, she's right there next to me. That's Margie. He's like, I had to look up in the crowd to make sure she didn't have a megaphone. Nice. I'm like, you watch videos of me wrestling, if my hand gets raised, you'll hear her yelling. It doesn't matter where. So that's her thing, and she can drive people crazy with it, but I love it. Yeah, she's she's been been supportive, if in all ways, no matter what. And I don't think she's ever said no. I understand, hey, if there's time, I got to be with her. There's a smaller tournament, I'm going to utilize this to get to the bigger one. But there were times, we were I mean, I would come home, I'd just start laughing. She'd be like, "Where is it now?" You know, and it was like, now it's doesn't even matter. She, you know, I could say, "Hey, tomorrow I'm flying to Texas." She'd be like, "Whatever," you know.
Yeah.
Well, so that's a pretty good. I mean, what I guess the question is, what brought you? I'm thinking your wife's from Illinois, right? And then
Yep.
now you move up to St. Croix Falls, and I don't exactly. I was trying to find on a map where you live, but it probably was by civilization. And now I'm looking, and you take her up to you take
Yeah.
her to a pretty secluded place, right? So what brings you up there, and then how did you end up at Amery?
Well, I had in Lake Geneva, it's pretty populated, and Hebron's a smaller town, Illinois, but it's definitely popular compared to here. Well, it was probably April 2015, I guess. Get a call from my mom. Like anytime you get a call and you pick it up, it's like 1 a.m. It's not good, you know.
Mhm.
My younger brother Pete was killed. Out fishing, you know, that's all I hear, you know, and they don't know who and what. So we get in the car right then, drive up here, and you know, it turns out, you know, there's a whole situation, and he ends up getting stabbed and dies from it. And really, that's what kind of brought us up, you know, and at the time there was a lot going on, you know, and had to come back up for the court case. He got all these things, and it was tough on the family on a lot of aspects, because you had a little break and then the court came and then that didn't go well. I mean, I'm not going to go into all the specifics on that, but yeah, it was pretty tough time for us, for all of us. And we decided, you know, my dad was sick, and he's in the nursing home now. I'm going to just come up here and stay at my mom's and help out, you know, with my nephews and do whatever I can, and help out with my parents too with stuff. And we weren't sure if I was going to stay up here permanent. And I worked a couple different places, and I helped at St. Croix Falls with their youth, and I'd wrestle some of the guys. I went up to Spooner, Caleb Melton. I worked with him at Northwest Passage, and I went up and they had some really good guys coming in. I had the Meltons, and they had another guy, 220, who's really probably would have been state champ, hurt himself in the sectional, blew out his knee. They had some really good guys, and they just needed a little bit more, and I was able to help them out, and I really enjoyed it. And they were good. They were, you know, the people up at Spooner, I don't know, they were really just legitimately nice people, and they really cared, you know, and that was always a good thing. And there was an opening there. They kept trying to get me, you know, and it was literally like, I had just picked up a house. We weren't sure, but I picked up a cheap house that I thought maybe I could fix up. Spooner was an hour solid drive, you know, it's like 65. I'm like, it's just too far, you know? So we weren't sure, but we knew we could, if we had to, we could sell that house pretty easy. So, actually, we were probably thinking, I was just going to head back to Illinois, just say, I'll just go back. Whitewater had reopened. Ned had moved to Army, assistant coach at Army. And, they called and said, "Hey, you want to be the head coach? Maybe there's some, you know, this possibility you could be it. Still got your house over there." Yeah. So I get a call at work at Passage. I had already put in my notice there, and I was going to go back to Illinois. And my friend Scott Marco, who was the Amery coach, had passed away, you know, sudden heart attack, right after the state tournament there. And so I immediately drove over to his dad's house. His dad had done a lot for me as a kid, you know, took me to tournaments. His dad and mom took me to tournaments. Scott, we all trained together. His dad would bring in other coaches in off season to get us ready for freestyle. A lot of things his dad did helped build, because he knew what we needed to, you know, he understood wrestling. And we're in the garage, and both of Scott's brothers were there, Aaron and Brad, and I was pretty close with Brad in high school too. He was a couple years younger, but we hung out a lot. And they were like, Mike, it'd be really good if you took over Amery. Man, that'd be awesome, you know? And I'm like, man, I'm like, now's not the time, you know, let's,
Sure.
and they're like, no. And his, Scott's dad turned around and said, Mike, you're going to do one thing. All right. He said, you're going to do two things for me. Say, you're going to coach Amery and you're going to beat Ellsworth. You got to do it for Scott. You got to do it for me. And I'm like, I don't know. We'll talk, you know? Yeah. And I'm like, all right. By the end of the night, at the end of the night, I said, I'm in. So I called my wife. I said, hey, this is what happened. This could be a place I could stay and go. What do you think? And my wife's older than me. Okay. That's not a surprise. I'm not scared to say it. So she's close to retiring at being a nurse. My youngest daughter is in junior college. My three daughters I adopted from the school. I used to work at elementary school. I adopted two from my class, and their older sister was in like 7th or 8th grade. And actually she's like, I don't know, she might've turned 30 now, you know? But people are like, how do you have kids that old? Well, they were older when I got them. But anyway, so my youngest is finishing up junior college and she's living at my house down there. So we don't want to kick her out. So we're like, my wife's like, hey, we're just going to have to kind of stay apart a little bit. And we're talking my first 3 years here coaching, I lived in like Illinois coaching here. I mean, I would drive back. I could drive back 5 hours to Illinois with my eyes closed, you know, because I would do it every Friday or come back and we worked it out. I didn't want her to have to drive too often, but sometimes her and my daughter would. And one of my nephews had his pilot's license. He'd fly her up to Grantsburg because there are a lot of flight people in our family. So on my wife's side, so sometimes he'd fly her up for the weekend and they'd fly back. He enjoyed doing that too. So we decided, let's give it a shot, you know, let's go to Amery here and give it a shot. And I took what Bob Marco told me, Scott's dad. I told my wife, I said, hey, you're not here right now. The next 4 years, hey, I'm going full goal. The goal, hey, I'm going to get this done. I don't care what it takes, you know, and being like, my wife wasn't here. There was no reason for me to go home. So I could sit here in the weight room. I could go in the restaurant, do whatever. It didn't matter. I had, you know, I didn't even have I'm a cat guy. All right. I like cats. My cats were in Illinois. So I have nothing to go home and go empty house, you know? Yeah. And you know, we just, you know, went for it from there. And I dedicated, man, like every second of my life. I didn't go fishing hardly. I didn't do anything except focus on getting the guys to beat Ellsworth. And I knew if we beat Ellsworth, the rest would fall into place, you know, and not trying to give Ellsworth too much, but they owned Amery for 35 years, you know, and it was big, you know, and I'll be honest, we beat Ellsworth. I went back. Bob was in his garage. And I brought him the paper too, because the next day they had paper, whatever. I gave it to him. I said, hey, we did it, you know, and it was pretty emotional for both of us. And he said, where they had a birthday party at the house, whatever, he said, when we read it online, we didn't believe it. And he said, once it was confirmed, he said the house was shaking, you know? So, you know, that was a dream of Scott's and something he had asked me, hey, you got to do this. And I took it to heart, you know, like, hey, this is something I can do and I'm going to make this happen. And I'll be honest, if, you know, just trying to get it to make sure, I mean, and then here we know, hey, this is going to happen. And then COVID comes in, you know, the difference between us and a lot of other programs. And I was talking to Fader about this last night is not one kid ever said to me, Coach, you think we're going to have state? They didn't care. They just said, hey, we going to wrestle Ellsworth? I said, yeah, we're going to make that happen.
Yeah.
No one was like, hey, if there ain't state, I ain't wrestling. They didn't even care. They said, coach will take us to Iowa and get us a tournament. Let's just train, you know?
Yeah.
And that was a big difference. You know, we never worried about, is there going to be state? Isn't there going to, these guys I'm coaching right now love to wrestle. And
Right.
that's something, there's not a lot of kids that say, hey, I just love to wrestle. I don't care where, who, what, I just want to wrestle. So that's pretty much how I ended up here in Amery. And sometimes like even I tell kids at the school, they're like this or that. And they're like, I'm like, yeah, I won a world medalist and that. And they're like, no, you didn't. I'm like, they're like, yeah, well, the nice thing is the internet. They're like,
Yeah.
why are you at Amery then?
Sure.
Why don't you know, I'm like, well, circumstances bring us different places.
Sure.
Doesn't mean just because I'm at Amery, I can't be good. You know, I can't win things or do things, you know, and that's what's helped, I think, the team and the kids. You know, they see, hey, here's an old man that can still bench over 300. I see him going and wrestle anyone and win tournaments and do these things. And that has, you know, that has helped them considerably on the belief, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
That's quite the life path.
Teague, where we want to take it from there, man.
I mean, we kind of got into a little bit when we were talking about this group of guys you have right now, but with this team this year, when did you realize that this group of guys had the potential to be team state champions?
Well, I'll be honest. When I first took over, you know, I brought a different style than they were used to. You know, if you ever go around a kid who's been in my practice or did a camp or whatever, they know, like, hey, it's going to be hard. You know, we're going to work hard. You're going to be, most kids that come here for the first time from another school, if we're doing a summer, they're like, I've never sweated that much in my whole life, you know, and it's like, now say my core kids, like when another group comes around, they just laugh because they see what they do. You know, they try to run out and get fresh air. They're dying. Even college kids that come back, all this stuff, you know. So I guess it started off, you know, I got to give credit to Jordan Pennard and Walker Ingham. You know, they were, the moment I got here, they were like 8th grade, graduated, you know, that summer. I got them in the car. I said, hey, I told Mike Smith, give me like 6 guys that want to work. And he got those 2 and a few other, the older guys. And I drove them to Illinois for like 2 weeks. And just, I knew so many guys. I mean, I coached Izzy Martinez from Izzy Style. So I had him. We were going to Izzy, Marmium Academy, you know, all these big Illinois schools. And we're going in there just boom, boom, boom. I'd run a camp, or we go, they would be at a camp, whatever. They'd bring me in to run some stuff, and we continually keep them working. I get them up in the morning, and I'm like, hey, I wonder, hopefully these guys are getting enough work. I don't know. Well, turns out Pennard and Walker tell me, they're like, yeah, some of the guys, they were GPSing how far it was to walk back home because they wanted the heck out of there. So, you know, it was a big learning curve for these guys.
Sure.
And Walker and Jordan were right there on, hey, they knew, they are like, hey, this is the guy, and they went right for it. And that built on, you know, and they got some good momentum going.
You got a core group to buy in is what you did.
Yeah. Yes. And it started with 2, and then the next year more. And then, you know, these guys, the Beesies, the Hopkeys, and all of a sudden they come in, and, you know, there's something to it. And I would say, hey, when they go in a weight room and the coach is benching like 315, 320, and they're like, hey, he ain't even 170 pounds. And I just laugh at them. Hey, maybe you guys will get up with the big boys sometime. Well, now they're all past me up. Nice. Thank God they don't laugh at me now, you know. But, you know, I mean, Coy Hopke's benching like 335. Jeez. You know, he's a freshman. I mean, that's insane. You know, right. the numbers. Beasy, I don't know what he's at. He's got to be 350, something like that. When I first took over at Amery, unless there was someone I didn't know, I was the only guy in the school that could bench 300. Now there's like 5 on the wrestling team,
Right.
So that's just the work ethic. Like, they saw what I did. They wanted to be better. We have contests all the time on crazy lifts and things we can do. And I'll tell you, I got to keep up. And assistant coach Vinny, he's like, hey, Kelly, you got to give me the weight room key. If you want me to keep up with these guys, I got to be able to lift it here, when I'm home from work and do stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
Because he's a big, strong guy too. And it works great for these guys. But we got that core group. We got them rolling. I could call, these guys at any time, say, hey, there's practice tomorrow. Walker Ingham, 4 years, never missed one practice.
Wow.
Spring, summer, it didn't matter, and I got to throw out a guy that's helped us out a lot. He's helped me out a lot. He's helped the kids out a lot. There's a crazy man named Dean Schultz, lives in Grantsburg, Wisconsin. This guy, when I was in high school, you were scared of me. You always thought, because he drove a Camaro and he was a tough guy. But he's the nicest guy you ever saw. But the guy trains like what I call that dark place. You say, I would come back on Sundays from Illinois, and he would do these stair runs, and he would text me, hey, it's 3:00. And I would go there, and it was like, I was actually like scared to go because it was so hard, I'm like, but I'm like, he's like, you want to beat the Russians, you want to be world champ, you got to do this, and I go, get right. I drive right from Illinois, 5.5 hours right to Grantsburg, get out of the car and go do their thing. And I was like, get the boys, a bunch of the boys, we'll go do it. And I mean, we're doing like crazy intense stairs, runs, push, all this stuff. Like the Chanel boys would be there a bunch of times. I mean, I'd see them throwing up. It was like insane stuff, but it brought you to that dark place that, hey, if you get past that, you're super tough. Right. And I remember the core guys, you're a bunch of the guys, it was his 50th birthday. So every day on his birthday, it's in like January, he does like 50 of these stairs. So 48, whatever, but he was turning 50.
Yep.
And I'm going to say, if you could go up and down these stairs 6 times without stopping, you're probably in super good shape.
Sure.
So he says he's doing 50. Wow. So a bunch of the guys stayed and did 50 with him. Wow. I mean, it took a couple hours, but they did it. And I was like, hey, that's when I started knowing, hey, we're different. And they bought in, and we're going to we're going to really hit it hard. And then really this season, I wasn't sure, I'd wrestled Coy since, like 6th grade and 7th grade. In the mornings we'd wrestle. Then I worked at the middle school for a little bit. I'd take him to school, and then, he would wrestle up with some of our guys, and I knew he was good. But I also had like big brother on him. I wrestled him when he was smaller than me, when he was at my size, and when he's bigger. All right. And sometimes it's hard for people to get past the big brother a little bit. So I'm like, I don't know how to compare him. All right. And so I was really anxious to see how he would do. And I'll be honest, he outdid at the Dells tournament. He outdid my expectations insanely. I mean, then I realized how good we were as a team.
Sure.
And how good he really was, because I see what he was doing in our room, and then I seen what he did there. And then I seen, holy man, all these guys must be super tough, even beyond what I thought they were. They've just jumped leaps and bounds because of our work. And he, and his brother, I think because of him and both of them working together, pushed, I think it pushed Kale. I mean, the sectional finals and state and team state, Kale was insanely, it was like a different wrestler.
Sure.
I mean, he really came out and got after it and just really did amazing. And then Beezy, nobody on the planet had picked Beezy to go to state except Vinny. Most people had Beezy like 4th, and he rolls through that thing. Because why? Because he has Vinny, he has the 2 Hopkeys, and another guy, Carter, who probably on a normal year is a state heavyweight that's in the back at 285 that just can't beat Beezy, So all that combo started adding up. And then, first first meet, 78-6 or something. Next one, the same. We're like, holy man, I don't want to be the guy who loses. And it just kept rolling. And we really, just kept focused, and we didn't change much. What was nice is, a lot of guys continued to train. So I didn't have to start at practice like day one.
Sure.
We were like mid-season when practice started. These guys were raring to go. They were chomping at the bit. They were ready to get to Ellsworth, and then they changed the dates a couple times and it backed up. And then really you're just like, please, COVID, no one get taken out, and I'll be honest, it was the funnest season I've had. But it was also, I couldn't wait for it to be over just because of that. I didn't get to enjoy the victories. Yeah. Cause the stress was insane. I mean, beyond any time I've ever been with wrestling, the stress was, I didn't know if the next call, like I didn't even want to see the AD walking near me.
Right.
Cause we couldn't afford to lose anyone, and really, even looking at the regional, our 82 pounder, he would have been third. So that's like 16 points. That puts us, way out of reach, but he gets from close contact, he's out.
Jeez.
And that was close. That's why the score was a little closer than we would have liked it to be. And really we owe, I think, what the Baldwin, most people don't know how close that regional was. The last match of the day, I think it was St. Croix Central and Baldwin. If Baldwin wins, they win.
Jeez.
Well, it's like overtime, and the Central kid stands up, and right at the buzzer, the Baldwin kid slammed him and lost off a slam. We were like, holy man. The wrestling gods were looking out for us that day, because it wouldn't have mattered, in reality, like, because we would have, we had the sectional by a lot, one state, but we wanted to win the whole thing, every part of it. We didn't want to lose any part of it, but it was, that was an interesting. And then the sectionals, I thought really, Wyatt Ingham just got it rolling, and everyone just, were pinning and wanting to win. And then the other guy out pinned the other guy, and everyone's offensive output in that finals was up way more than they ever had. And I've been in teams in the JUCO college and that where we're at nationals or whatever, and you can't lose sometimes. You get the ball rolling, the guy gets put on his back, he flips him over and pins the guy. You just aren't going to lose. And I've seen it happen, and I seen it happen at the sectional. We just weren't going to lose. The finals, the momentum was ours. The conditioning was ours. The guys were, they were like loose, feeling good and just trying to outdo each other. It was like, kind of like, I don't want to compare it to, but like a Penn State mentality when they just get out there and they seem like they're having fun, and Bo's pinning someone and the next guy's pinning someone. And that's how it was going. And that's what you hope for. You're not always going to have it, but if you can get that momentum and the kids take advantage of it, it really made a huge difference there.
Now, coming into sectionals, I know you beat Baldwin by 1.5 points at regionals. Did you have any thought at all, like, all right, if Baldwin has a day, they might win this thing at all? And of course, like, you don't think that or tell that to your kids, but was there any doubt at all coming into sectionals, or were you feeling pretty confident with the group that you had?
I thought I felt pretty confident. I thought, I'll be honest, I thought everyone would do what they did outside of the pins in the finals. But Beasy, when Beasy came out, he really just outdid himself and just showed like, hey, what working with, like, having to wrestle the Hopkins, having to wrestle Carter, having to wrestle Vinny every day made a difference, plus like he works hard, during season, maybe his bench went from like 315 to 340. So he was quite the stronger man by the end of the season there. And we really hadn't seen him. He didn't get pushed much early, with the shortened season. So he got some defaults and he got some easy matches. We really didn't see how good he really was. So I was a little worried about him. But I still thought even if he didn't do what he did, I just felt, man, we just had too much firepower, because I knew Jordan, Coy, Kale, Ty Lee, Walker, Wyatt, they've been coming through every time, and I felt they would, and they did, and they did everything. I mean, really our regional, sectional, state, almost the practice were pretty much identical. The kids knew what we were doing, and it worked out perfect. I think just physically, mentally, everything. I thought they were all knocking on all cylinders.
Yeah, you guys really pulled away from Baldwin. I mean, you ended up winning by 43 at sectional. You left no doubt pretty much. Right.
Yeah. It was, I just remember the finals, the kids were out there and we just get it rolling, and it's like Pinard pins the Abbotsford kid, and then Mason Tylee goes out and rips one and pins them. And then, Walker goes out there. I don't remember if he pinned or majored, and it just kept rolling. And then when Coy stuck the Baldwin kid, I was like, holy man, I mean, that's insane, and then Kale goes and beats the Osceola kid more than he's ever beat him by. Usually it's a 1-point match. Kale opens up from that match on. Kale, for whatever reason, he opened up, and from then on he was full go, and that really helped on everything. And that's why he won state, because he opened up, because he's super athletic, strong, long. He can do stuff. Sometimes he just doesn't. From that match on, he's just done so much more. I don't know why, but he opened up. Maybe as his brother won, and he's like, I'm not getting second. And he opened up on that kid, and probably the most points he's ever scored on him, and then really just kept it going. And then Beasy, he just outworked those guys. He's a character. He's grunting and groaning. And I think he was kind of scared for a while, because he used to wear a raccoon hat all the time. And then he'd wear it all the time. I don't mind that, but then he stopped wearing it. I think the kids were like, oh, Kelly will be mad at you. He loves raccoons. but it's always funny. I'm like, you can wear that. It don't bother me, for goodness sake, but he's a character, if you ever see a match, he grunts and groans out there, and man, he gives it all too,
A sidebar to that, Teague, before you go to the next section. That's where I was figuring out where I was going to pull this in, but you guys, youngins, I don't have a TikTok account, but check out Coach on Hollywood 3817. He's
3897.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, 3897. There you go. 3897. He's world famous for his well, I'll just let you watch the videos. I'll just tell you this. My kids now, as of yesterday, now follow Coach Kelly on TikTok. So
nobody really, the kids know it's me. It's never me on there. It's just the raccoons. And someone told me, hey, you should put them on there a while back. And I put a video on there, and like 330,000 views. And I'm like, man, I don't get that many all the time, but I had a couple go pretty good. So,
because you've raised them from babies, right?
They were little babies.
My kids
are like 40 some pounds.
Yeah. How do you get them so fat? I said, well, he probably feeds them pretty good.
Yeah. They're like the kings of the house, and I built this like insane outdoor cage, and then, I put them out there for like 2 days, and my wife's like, we got to bring them back. We miss them. So I, believe it or not, they're litter box trained. They don't smell. Now that I got a massive, I got permits. I got all the permits. I did everything. I was like, I got everything cage checked, the whole works. I got a massive indoor cage. They live in the house. And when I come home, I let them out. They roam around. I got the house raccoon proofed. And then they get bored. Time for bed. I yell at them. They go back in their cage, and and go to sleep. But usually they sleep. My wife says if I'm not home, they sleep the whole time. When they hear my voice, they get up and they want to, play, mess around. But they're a lot of fun, and the kids enjoy them. Wyatt comes over once in a while. Wyatt Ingham, he likes to come and visit them sometimes. But I would, I bring them to a couple. We had some practices in Cumberland in summer or whatever. I bring them when they were little. I bring them with, and they never, like, we went to Illinois. We went I brought them everywhere for, I don't know how long. They never like spent a day without me because of COVID and everything. So I could take them everywhere. And now, but they're just too big. But my cats like them, and they get along pretty good. And they're just huge cats, kind of like,
Yeah.
So
Well, transition back to grappling, but Hollywood 3897. Like I said, Coach, we'll get you a whole bunch more followers.
All right.
That's awesome, man.
We're gonna put the username in our description for this one.
Well, Coach, so tell me a little bit. You came in. You've been there. That was your fourth year.
This is my fourth year.
Fourth year, so you're going into your fifth. So you turned around. I mean, because if Coach Joe Rager told me when you took over, Amery took last or second to last in the conference, if I believe. How did you get that? And Teague, I know we're going to go back a little bit, but I guess people want to know: is there a good feeder program? Where was that when you took over?
Well, I mean, we had some good youth. Mike Ingham, he coaches the middle school, does some of the youth. When I first came in, I helped with the youth too. I've been doing the youth with Mike. And Byron came in. I don't know when he came into the district. His kids might have been 6th grade, 5th grade. I'm not sure. Before I was here, he came over because Amery at that time, they were doing pretty well. So I think he saw Ingham's were going to be here. He would be here. I mean, we knew there were some good kids, Ty Lee. There were some good, but a guy like Jordan Pernard didn't do much in the youth. And then all of a sudden, boom, is like third at state. People are like, what happened? How do you do that? And it was just hard work,
Sure.
So, I mean, we knew there were some people coming up, but you just don't know how good they really are going to be. Sometimes people just don't even wrestle anymore. You don't know,
Right.
And you have to do a lot of the right things to get the most out of them. And we've had a lot of these kids this year, JC, the younger Beezy, Berkey, Berkey beats a guy who goes to state from Prairie du Chien at 106. I mean, and the Kellings, all these guys, it's just, there wasn't a lot of promise coming in, but man, they just turned it up and just made it happen.
Well, I can tell one thing, it's your energy. I mean, because it's people want to be around an energetic personality in what you do. But give us a little bit too, like what you talked about the youth, right? Obviously,
Yep.
a lot of it starts there. What does your youth program do that maybe a coach here that wants to turn a program around? And I know you might be giving some secrets away here, but what is your coach? What did you do at youth to change that, get that energy?
Well, I always make the kids wrestle no matter what. I want, whether you're youth, whatever, when you leave, you need to be tired or sweating. People need to know you did something,
Yep.
I don't even care if you don't know how to wrestle, hey, you can tell if you're winning or losing, everyone knows, I remember my nephews wrestle they're all, 3, 4 years old, 5 years old. They're all jumping on each other. Well, you do the same thing 10 times in a row and it doesn't work. Even they at like 4 years old know, hey, maybe I better try something different,
Sure.
And you can, I get, just instilling the hard work, even in the middle school, everything, just like hard work. It's going to be hard. Don't worry about it. That's what you want, getting to where like you leave a practice and you're not sweating. You're like, this practice wasn't very good. That attitude, like if we travel somewhere in the summer and we do a practice and the kids are like, yeah, that wasn't very hard, and they don't even like it because he didn't work hard.
Sure.
That's what I tried to build from, younger, all the way up. And a lot of kids in summer, you know, they would hate if their parents bring them here because they knew they were going to work hard, you know, and you gotta, once you beat that mentality and you just look forward, to me, like after practice, just sitting there and sweat's running off and you're telling stories or whatever. And it's just, that's like when you feel good, you know, to me. And I think a lot of kids that I've trained with, from the team, they like that too, you know, and it's just to know, hey, we just went and worked hard. And probably some other guys that came in, they, you know, say we would do, where you bring in a couple different teams, you can have one scrimmage or whatever, you know, and maybe a couple teams come in. Well, they come here and they're not ready. There is going to be, you know, it's kind of funny. We can go back in the locker room and talk, say, did you see him throwing up? Did you see him laying in the hallway? Did you see that guy trying to run out that door? You know, and it's funny because that's just how, you know, my mentality. And even say this summer, we're doing some stuff and maybe we're in some barns and garages and I have some people call me, hey, I want to work out. Some old wrestlers that from college come up and they're wrestling with the boys and they're literally like crawling and I'm locking the door so they can't leave. I'm like, don't let them get out, make them wrestle, you know, and trying to teach those guys, like, see how it is, you know, you got the mentality, they lost, you know, and it's just good for them to see that. And you can make it like, you can make it enjoyable with the hard work. You know, I like, I haven't, you know, it's something you gotta, you know, it takes some time to, like when I was at the college, you know, I was a lot different mentality than I am right now. Probably spending some time when I was at Whitewater with Ben Peterson traveling together. You know, I didn't have to, he's like, you don't have to swear to coach, you know, and that takes it, you know, and that's another story too. I got to be real close with Ben. He's just a great guy. We trade stories a lot, but you know, that you don't need it. It doesn't all have to be negative. I'm pretty positive. I throw a lot of jokes, but these guys know when it's down to it, we're going to work hard all the time. I mean, if I told you like some of the things like the lifting and things we were doing afterwards, the certain people be like, there's no way you're doing that. I'm like, yeah, I didn't even think twice about it, you know? And that's, and if the kids aren't thinking twice about it and you're like, man, that's crazy what we're doing, you know,
mental edge.
And that's huge, you know, and that just as you thought that, it just reminded me of a time, like one of the things that kind of pumped me up to like keep going at things back. I was probably like 27, 28 coaching at the college. And I would always wrestle the opens with the kids all the way to Midlands, you know, and then like January, whatever, is all the kids, you know, I just straight coached, you know, so I go to open tournament, we go to Missouri Open or whatever, and the kids would wrestle. And if I had to wrestle my own kid, I always just, you know, defaulted to him, he could go on, but it never really happened. But the kids always liked it and it'd get me ready for Midlands. And then after Midlands, it was all junior college stuff then. So I was at Missouri one day and Mike Mena's there coaching Indiana. And he's like Gable's last guy, you know, Gable loved him. You know, he never won the nationals. Gable felt horrible, whatever. And I was warming up and he came up to me. He's like, Kelly, and I didn't even know him, you know, and he's like, Kelly, he's like, I knew you'd be here. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, because you're the craziest guy I've ever met. You know, like, what are you doing wrestling here? It's insane. And then, you know, and I was actually, you know, 27, 28, that was probably my toughest, you know, and he's like, man, it's just amazing to me. You know, this is so great. You know, and when I left there, I was like, oh man, I almost didn't even go and wrestle. I was going to just bail on it, but I would have let this guy down. And I'm like, if Gable's top guy thinks I'm insane, I'm like, I got it. You know, I'm there, you know, and then, you know, that kind of stuff is what, you know, keeps going. I tell my wife, I was like, hey, Mena thinks I'm going to be at all these tournaments. I got to be there. You know,
that's right. Yeah. Expectation.
Yeah. So that just reminded me of it for some odd reason, but.
Well, Teague, I think Teague's going to take it back to TG. Do you want to talk about, I don't know where Teague wants to take it next as far as individual state and maybe recap it or not. Maybe whatever, but Mike, if I'm hearing it right, what you're telling me is what I'm hearing, you didn't even say this, but you have high energy. It's not like, you know, the secret ultimate takedown that nobody else knows. You have high energy. You have a high expectation for your kids, and you guys just work hard. That's what your program. That's how you turn things around. So
yep. And when I first started, I was kind of the leader. I couldn't expect, Walker and Pinard to lead these guys. I had to lead everything, the weight room. I had to do the lifts. We're running the bleachers. I run the bleachers. We wrestle. I wrestle. We do this. And until everything got in, because I needed them to know the intensity I wanted.
Yeah.
In the weight room, in the wrestling room, on the bleachers. If they don't know, they don't know. So you have to show them, and there would be a lot of competitions going on, whether, we're racing, running, we're doing this, and I like to win too, and then that's where it really got a ball rolling, which was really good for us.
I think it really helps that you walked the walk, because at first when you were talking, I was going to play devil's advocate and wonder, like, how do you get by on just working hard? But I think the fact that you were showing it, you're not just some guy blowing a whistle, making the kids work hard themselves and, also making it fun. I think that's what really helped kids buy in. Cause I was going to ask you, and you pretty much answered the question for me. Like, was there ever a numbers issue when it comes to like how hard the practices are, or like, what do you do to keep the kids that are kind of on the fence with wrestling, keep them in the sport?
I just try to keep talking to them, letting them know, hey, they're doing good, they're getting better. Hey, it's tough, but look at the guy you're wrestling. You're wrestling tough guys, you're getting tougher. We'll get out there and you're going to see, real soon. And then plus they see like body change. I mean, the body change on these guys, some of them, like people at school are like, guys were wanting to join wrestling. They're like, can I just go? I just want to get in shape. I want to look like that guy. They can't believe the change. Teachers are saying it. Kids are saying it. When they see that, they're like, oh, there's doing something in there, and part of it, is for me, and that's just how I am. A lot of it I do, I don't have to do, like at this point, I don't have to run every time we do sprints, but sometimes I gotta. But in the beginning, I had to probably do every time. But now these guys, I can let them go. But a lot of these guys, we've wrestled in tournaments together. Like I'm warming up with them. Hey, we're wrestling. It ain't just one, we'll go to Iowa and Ingham will be coaching me, Walker, and his little brother will be wrestling. But we've been, we went in the summer, we went down to, I said, hey, there's a tournament down in this place in South Wisconsin here. Let's go. And a couple guys, hey, let's go. Well, it turned out it's like, it was at a bar, outside a bar with a tent. And like you went in the bar for the bathroom and it was like the old, like open the night before. And then the kids there. So they're all there and they're like, it's this tiny little mat and it's a takedown tournament or whatever.
I'm afraid to ask what town this was.
It was down by Beloit. I forget the name of it. Small little town.
Oh, shoot.
I forget the name offhand, but I mean, I was surprised the school sponsored it because there was a lot of alcohol going on. So we go and I wrestle and the next guy's like, I ain't wrestling, you forfeits. Well, it's like the last match. And the coach's ref and says, hey, one of my kids will wrestle you. And he jumps up. And he's like, yeah, I'll wrestle you. And I think he took third at state or something. I don't know. He missed weight this year at 152 Division III. But the boys were all laughing. They're like, oh gosh, he just thinks this. Most people think, hey, you're just an old guy, because most old guys you can beat up, and the guy shot in. I got this, I call it the mouse trap. I put the cheese on my chest and then my arm, they snap on your head, So that guy shoots in, crush him, go behind, win him easy, and the crowd's just like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy just beat him. He was their guy, they thought he would just come and roll me. But I'm like, yeah, I've been hearing that for 20 years, So, but it was the boys. And then the next day the boys wrestled and they were talking, they were like, I just can't believe that what we just witnessed, here we are, outside a bar wrestling in Southern Wisconsin. And, it was just a great just one of them great experiences for the kids,
Yeah. Team bonding. Huge.
Yes.
That's huge.
And they'll remember forever,
Yep.
and there isn't many coaches that get to wrestle with their kids. Me and Walker, Pernard, a bunch of guys, Coy, Kale, we've wrestled in the same tournaments together for years, whether we're at Corn Cob, we're at Nationals, just a bunch of places, and they can see, I wrestle all the time. 3 weeks ago, maybe now, I was down in Illinois doing a grappling tournament, won a belt. I sent them a picture. Hey, look at, I won a belt. And they're all jealous, but it's good stuff. That helps motivate them. Cause sometimes I'd be like, hey, I got to cut some weight. Can I come and work out, or whatever, things like that. And they're like, man, this guy, he knows what it's like. Sometimes you think people do, but if you don't see them, or how is someone going to complain to the coach when the coach is right next to him, sweating 5-6 pounds off at the same time, so that's how the buy-in and you have the kids, you just got to keep them motivated, and if you keep letting them know, hey, you care, you're there. Hey, even though you don't win, hey, wrestling's the best thing in the world. This is going to help you in life, and everyone matures differently. I knew kids who didn't do much at all in high school and got to college and turned into terrorists, Yeah. So they could you just don't know.
You never know.
And keeping them positive and we work hard, but we have some fun too. I mean, we play a game in the beginning. A lot of times it's just one ball and it's like dodgeball, but I don't know, we call it mat ball or something, but I just invented it one time years ago at the college, and we played a lot. It was like pretty intense. That was the only thing I was worried about, someone getting hurt at, not the wrestling that, but they were getting after it, and they kind of made their teams, and it got pretty chippy in there. So, but the AD came by, he was scared. He's like, oh man, I don't want to get hit over here. So it was good. But that, having that and then knowing, hey, you got to work hard, and then seeing now the results, they don't question. There ain't one kid that goes in the locker room is like, that's wrong or it's too hard. They don't care. They know what to do.
It's funny that you brought up during sectionals how your guy, it kind of seemed like a Penn State feel where you guys kept the momentum rolling. And I did watch that Kale documentary on Flow, and they do the same stuff in practice where they like play games and whatnot. So it's kind of funny to see you're doing the stuff in practice that the successful program's doing, and then you kind of see the same results on the mat.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. And that's, if you look back and you can see it, what Penn State's guys, when they're on their game and they're, they go with this year, 4 win the finals, all the thing, you get that momentum, you get it going, and they're a little more loose and, let her rip. And that's, I just, over years, I've changed a little bit of my coaching. I have different philosophies at times or whatever, and different kids is different things. If you don't change and you do the same thing, you're going to get the same result to a point. But when that result ain't coming the same, you got to change some things, and Gable had to do that in his years at Iowa, and other guys. If you don't, it's not, kids are different. You got to figure out different ways. And this system I got might not have worked somewhere else. I don't know. It's worked everywhere that I've spent a decent amount of time in. It's worked. So I remember Joe was like, why do you think your system will work? I said, it's never failed. When it's hard work ever failed. It's just getting the people enough. It'll take some time, but I think you can get it to work pretty much anywhere, but it's just takes time, and you got to have, it was a perfect storm for me at the time. I didn't have nothing else to do, like literally nothing. That was it. That's all I do. And when you have that time and you got the energy and you love I love wrestling. I mean, that's it for me. There's not a lot else more I do. Everyone I know outside of a couple people wrestle. I don't even, most of my friends I never even see, because I'm busy, and it's not that I don't like them. It's just, I'm busy, I'm super busy.
And I do want to talk about individual and team state real quick, because just looking at individual state, I mean, if you were feeling good about your team state odds after sectionals, just looking at these results, you had all 7 of your qualifiers place top 6. 6 of them were top 4. I think if Jordan wasn't hurt, it probably would have been 6 of them would have been top 3. I mean, just walk us through that day, because that's an impressive outing that you guys had at individual state.
Well, it started off kind of rough. Wyatt lost. I knew the guy would be tough. He gave a good fight. He gave himself a chance. He stayed in it close enough where, whenever it's close, you can always win. So I was, I wasn't down. But I thought, I wish, I would like to see him get through that. But he had like a senior, just had a little more strength than him, I think. And so I was a little nervous there. And then Pinard had a tough match. That's where he kind of tweaked his knee, doing something he really didn't need to try to force. Sometimes that's his downfall, is he'll try to force some things because he's super powerful. And I watched that kid he had later on that day, and he had some strength on his neck. He could bridge. He could kind of flop around funny. Real tough guy to wrestle. And Pinard tried to go power for power on him, and it hurt his knee there. And then, Mason started off good. Walker, he had a horrible first match. He had a guy he had beat at the Dells twice at pinned. And I could see the match, what happened. The guy didn't bring any offense in those 2 matches. He hadn't brought any at that time. And all of a sudden he just blasts a double, takes Walker right to his back. And he just wasn't, he had the takedown. He was winning. He's like, I'm just going to take it easy. I could see that. And I honestly didn't think the guy was going to shoot, and he did. And he came through and got the near fall and won the match. So I felt bad for Walker. I want to see him get in the finals and get another shot at Scholes. He'd been training hard. I think he just didn't believe that guy was going to bring him anything. And he's like, I'm winning. I don't need to take any risk, but guy always got to be ready,
Yeah.
And I think the guy kind of lulled them a little bit and then got in. And then, the Hopkins came out on fire. I mean, they were just pinning guys left and right. A couple of them that Coy had, semis, man, that guy would look like a monster. He was built. He had big leg, he had everything. And I was like, man, I wonder if Coy can actually crunch him up and cradle him. Sure enough, he could, And then,
oh, you're talking Dietzen from Amery.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big kid.
He's built, his legs are huge. He's just, I'll be honest. And he did. And then Robert coming through, just wearing them guys out. Literally, they were begging for timeouts, he just wore them. The first 2, he wore out, like they just couldn't even move. And he did that at Team State too. And then really kind of at the Hopkins and Beezy's really got the momentum going. And then Wyatt kept it going. Mason, all those guys coming back on the backside, just getting pins and just wrestling hard. I think, Pinard, I definitely think could have ended up third.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he could have gave Colts a better match had his leg been messed up, and I would have liked to saw Walker get another shot at Scholes. Scholes is tough. I actually coached Scholes' brother at Parkside. So I knew Scholes since he was pretty young. I know his family. They're a nice family and they're tough. And he'll probably be, he's going to be tough. Could be that 4-timer the next one, So I think the momentum was going good. I felt good. I liked everything. I'll be honest. I was a little nervous. Pinard, I held him out for 3rd and 4th. I was a little worried that whole week at Team State. I'm not going to lie. I was like, hey, how's it going? Actually, I didn't even practice them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I made them do a little bit stuff on Thursday and Friday, not much. I was like, do what you can, cause I'm like, he's a big move guy. So he can do some stuff. He knows he get in his positions. He can waste the clock if he needed to. He wasn't going to be out of shape in 3 days, so I wasn't really worried about that. But I was nervous. I'm like, we need him, we're going to need him, and we need him to pin some, when we talk about team state, maybe we'll get into that a little bit.
Two things I really liked from that. I can tell you're a great coach to have during a tournament, because that senior you were talking about that you thought, Wyatt could beat was Wyatt Kazrowski from Seymour, who's a 4-time place winner.
Right.
And just the way you were talking, it's like, all right, that's just the other guy on the mat there. And that's a great mentality to have. It's just wrestling everyone with the same amount of respect, no matter who it is. And then it sounds like, too, the state performance was a little inverse from sectionals, where things started off rough. So you had some adversity. And then I think it's almost cooler to see you have adversity and fight back from it, which is awesome. I think it speaks a lot about the team and the culture that you guys have.
Yeah. I always tell the guys, I'm a little different than maybe Brands and Iowa. I always sad they got the bronze. Well, I won 5 bronzes, I mean, no, I got 6. I won 6 bronze medals. All right. I know what being 4th is, and I know what being a bronze is. Being a bronze is 1,000 times better than not getting on the podium.
Mm-hmm.
When you're sitting there and everyone's going up and they're doing the cheer and you get a medal, you feel pretty good. If you don't even get the medal, you were like, I wish I had a medal, and I tried to instill in them guys, hey, if you lose, that's okay, but you got to get 3rd. 3rd's important. Coming back and getting a medal is important. And I always say 3rd because, I talk Olympics, I talk that stuff to these guys. I'm like, hey, we're, a lot of coaches didn't talk about the world championship. Hey, I'm at the worlds. I want to get the bronze. The coach tells me, hey, we can win the team title if you get a bronze medal. Am I just going to say, oh, I'm sad I'm not getting the gold? No, you go win the bronze medal and you can be happy about it. It's not the end of the world that you got a bronze, because look at the guy that got 5th. He wishes he was you,
Right.
And just a quick funny story on that. One of my rivals was a guy from Sweden. And he came up to me one time. He's coaching Sweden, and I'm still wrestling, and he had retired like 2 years. And he's like, Kelly, they always talk funny to me, but he's like, Kelly, you got 5 bronze medals, huh? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I got 5 silvers. Every year he beat me. He didn't beat me all 5, but he beat me like 3 of them. And he got silvers, so he always got silver. So it's kind of funny. But I always talk to the kids, hey, you got to come back for 3rd. If we want to win this, like the team, everything is bigger than one person, this, that. This is, and really for us, this was super huge this season. I mean, people think of like, I like to bring up Ellsworth a lot this year, but 35 years, no one had ever seen it happen.
Right.
I mean, Mike Ingham, other people text me, but he texted me the day of the meet, and he said, Mike, I've waited since the day Wyatt was born. I waited for this day because I knew they'd both be on the same team, him and Walker. I'm like, holy man, this is big, I mean, there's people texting me. They're like, hey, this is, I've waited my whole life for this,
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, wow, and
No pressure.
No, exactly. But we just, I don't know. It's just good stuff all around.
So going into team state next week, I feel like you guys got to be feeling pretty good from the last few weeks, or just even the season in general. I know the timing or the schedule was a little different, where I think you guys wrestled like 30 minutes to an hour after the first round. Preparing for the other teams lineup wise, did you have to look at the teams on the other side of the bracket a little more beforehand?
Yeah, actually, Byron Hopke, he follows that stuff to the T, and he's like the guy, like, hey, he'll be like, Mike, that guy beat this guy that I know, this is where and I listen to what he says, because he knows wrestling. He follows that stuff insanely good, and try to make our best choices. And what was nice for us is we beat Kiel pretty quickly. They had some forfeits. We had some pins. And the other teams had to battle for a lot longer. So we had a longer break. Because I'm going to tell you, and Mike and Byron said the same thing, is after the first meet, man, it was exhausting. I mean, we were pumped up. He's like, did you, Byron told me the other day, did you ever watch the video? He's like, after Coy pins the first guy, or no, Kale pins the first guy, you go insane, you know? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I know, we got it. I wanted to keep the energy up. And he's like, man, we had to be exhausted after the first one. So we had a nice break to really regenerate the batteries and think about what we wanted to do and what would be our best run at them, you know. And even though it, you know, once it started looking like Prairie du Chien, then we thought, yeah, this is what we got to do, you know.
I was gonna say too, and I think it's true for pretty much all of the team state qualifiers, but yeah, this was your guys' first team state appearance, I believe. So did you have any, like, or did the team have any jitters or nerves coming into it? Or was it a deal of, all right, we're here to win a team state title? Because sometimes there are teams that they're just happy to be there. They're just happy to win one round. How was the team's mentality coming in?
You know, we were 100% we're going to win. You know, I don't think anyone thought any less. Most of our guys had been a national. I mean, Coy is Triple Crown winner a couple times, would have been a 3-time Triple Crown winner had they had the seasons last year. They've been to all the big tournaments. Ingham's, Wyatt, all them guys, you know, half the team had all been in big tournaments, you know, been to major nationals, and the other guys had been around them, you know. And we, you know, a few years back, I started getting some traveling in, going to Freedom. Actually, we were supposed to go to the Dvorak in Illinois this year. I tried to get the more far off tournaments where we have to bond and get used to staying overnight and dealing with some things, situations that we're not used to, and going out and wrestle. So I've always kind of preached that and put the kids in those situations. And, you know, we're ready to go. I thinking back, you know, I never, you know, I don't think anyone thought we were going to lose. And I think everyone thought, hey, we're just got the best guys. I mean, we're just, you know, after state, I think we were really feeling good.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, some people online, the kids were reading, you know, they're like, oh, it should have been Luxembourg or this and that. But, you know, it is what it is. However it was, we went out and did it with the rules that are put in front of us. And I think at state, we kind of set the precedence, like, it don't matter. You know, we got 7 guys that placed, and the rest, and obviously we had some guys that were pretty close to placing too, you know. I mean, at that 106, Berkey beating the Prairie du Chien guy who was a state qualifier. That's a huge win, you know.
Well, because Berkey didn't he have 2 state place winners in his regional bracket?
Yeah. And that was it, you know. So he had Landon Johnson out of Frederick Luck, and he had the 3rd place from Baldwin.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a guy, you know, and he's another guy. That guy brings a lot of intensity. He's like, people don't like, if you see the Prairie du Chien match, he's out there and he's just like a spark plug, and that guy doesn't know what to do. And I've like squared up with him, and he starts doing that. You don't know what to do. You're like, what's this guy doing? How long is he going to last? And he reminds me of Clay Guida in the cage. The guy's like Energizer Bunny, never stops.
Isn't that crazy? He's a potential. I mean, we're speaking hypothetically, but he's probably could be a state place winner. Doesn't make it out of regionals. You know, that's crazy.
I mean, yes. Yeah, that is true.
I think looking at your guys' lineup, I mean, aside from getting someone to wrestle at 182 during team state, you look like the ideal, like, coach's lineup where it's, all right, we want guys to move around to try and beat us, not vice versa. Like, you had a very deep team. I would say you were 14 deep. There wasn't really a weak spot in your lineup, I would say.
Yeah, no, we were pretty confident in every guy we had, and I think every guy was going to give you a fight no matter what. And we preached like not getting pinned, and pinning, too many times you could pin a guy and he ends up reversing you and you get pinned. That can't happen, and just letting them know like the importance of, hey, you got to fight and not get pinned no matter what. And a lot of our guys, really did well, just fighting, and that to me, said a lot. If you fight and a guy's better than you and beats you, but you fight and scrap, that's all I can ask,
That's right.
on that aspect. And then we just work to get better and we figure out, hey, we got to get stronger, or we got to get better at what we do. But at that point, you just got to fight and not get pinned but keep wrestling. You can't just, like a couple of the Prairie du Chien, they ended up getting the stall calls or whatever, where I never told a guy like, hey, we don't think you can win. You got to just not get pinned. It's like, you go out there and wrestle and you don't get pinned, but you keep wrestling, and I think Cole at 70, Kelling, both the Kellings, them guys, all those guys, Little Beezy, them guys, JC, they wrestled hard. Maybe they had a guy who went to state and should have pinned them, but didn't. Hey, that's for them. That's a win. Yeah.
Right.
And one thing on this, like, I think back on what kind of pressure you put on someone. And I probably some Wyatt Ingham, here's a freshman. And I'm asking him to go out and pin a guy that it was at the state tournament. He had against Prairie. We need you to go out there and pin that guy that was in the state tournament. And the guy goes and does it. You think of putting that much pressure on a freshman. That's pretty insane. And then he goes out and does it. That's incredible, and even the Prairie du Chien, you knew at the end, hey, you got Cale Hopke, and you got the best version of Cale Hopke that we've ever had. I was like, yeah, we got this,
It's got to feel pretty good. I know you got 5 place winners coming back next year, but I'm just looking at your last 3 weight classes. And if this was the olden days where you always started 106 pounds or 103 for when I coached, but 106 now, you look at the end and go, yeah, we got 18 at the end. I feel pretty good.
Yeah. Yes. And the thing is the biggest guys right now, it's hard to get a lot of big wrestlers that anyway. That's usually, people 106 or heavies, is your lack. Man, we're so deep in there right now. It does feel good, and it's great to have knowing that, Hopkins and Beasy are going to bring it to whoever, it's going to take. No team's going to have that crew that could knock them off. They're 2 of the 3 are always going to pin, and most of the time it's all 3,
That's awesome.
Can we get a 195 through heavyweight Stoughton versus Amery battle?
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would. That would be something else. And they may run into each other somewhere. Maybe this weekend. All 3 of them will be at Iowa Nationals. So
awesome.
So that should be good. It'd be real good. It's just good to see them still testing themselves and getting out there. That's how you continue to get better. And you did all the work. You got to just keep rolling at it. And I think we'll probably have about 10 guys out there. So, keeping it rolling. They're looking forward. They want to keep it going and win this next year again, And I think from what I'm hearing, there's some good things happening, and we're going to be super tough again,
Yeah, I'll knock on wood here, but I don't think Amery Wrestling's going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, Coach, we talked about a lot of the things, and Teague, I think, I know we're kind of wrapping up here, but we talked about you guys work hard. There's a lot of things that you do, but one of the key words I think is brotherhood. I asked a state championship football coach once, I said, why, how have you won? And, do you know more? And he goes, no, I don't know more than any other coach. I know X's and O's just like they do. We work hard. I said, but he said, if you create brotherhood on your team, when you take two teams and they are like this, and it's the fourth quarter, and it's, if you don't have brotherhood and one team has brotherhood, the other team doesn't, and you're kind of tired and you look down that line, you don't really care about the guy next to you. It's easy to take a play off, and it's easy just to kind of like, but when you create brotherhood on a football team and a team, and it's like, you're tired, you're hurt, and it's like, you just dig in that fourth quarter. And it sounds like you have brotherhood. You have a bunch of guys that don't take a day off, that don't take a minute of practice off, and they're just constantly working hard because, it's easy to take off. Let's be honest. It's easy to take off for yourself. And, oh yeah, I'm a little tired, I'm hurt. But if you look down that lineup, all 14 guys, and then they got the backup guys, and you care about those guys, it's like, man, you don't want to let those guys down. And everything I'm hearing you talk about is you have that on your team.
Well, and it comes from hard work. Hard work will build the brotherhood better than anything, I think. Every morning you come into school, there's a bunch of the guys in there lifting after school, whatever, there's a good group. They're always trying to push each other, but it's the hard work brings them together too. It brings all of us closer, I think. And like some people, the difference is like they all, just the cliche is like, I don't know, probably, I don't remember if Jay Robb or somebody said it, some people's hard work is different than others. And that's true. Like some people, I remember at the college, we recruit guys and they're like, this is the hardest working guy we've ever had. And he'd go in our room and couldn't last 10 minutes, and it's like, these guys are working hard, and most people that come by, they're like, that's insane what you're doing. And then mentally, like it just builds us up, and they're like, hey, we don't want to wrestle them guys. They train crazy, So that's the mentality that I have. And it's kept me, some of it's like, I've trained myself a lot. I've had other people train me, but I train myself a lot, and I try different techniques, and what works, what doesn't, how am I getting better, what this, that. And it's worked for me for a long time and kept me able to go and compete at a high level till for a lot longer than I should. Well, we'll do the same thing, and it should work for you guys. And it sure does, and it definitely, hey, we're a close knit team.
Yep. Can I ask a question on that, Coach?
Yep.
You're a close knit team. How many guys do you have on your team? And then I'll ask my question. How
23.
many? You have 23. Okay. So you have, I think this is something coaches struggle with, whether they have 23, whether they have 13, whether they have 40, you have 23 different personalities coming into one room, right? You get those kids, some of them are, some are quiet, some of them are a little bit, maybe they got that weird kid. And I don't know. How do you bring 23 different persons? Because I see teams where, they kind of look and go, oh, that kid's weird. We don't, we kind of, or they warm up. You see some teams and they all warm up over here, and then they got the two that are over here. How do you keep those 23 different personalities, where you don't have, oh, hey, these are all the cool kids and they hang out over here, and these are all the good kids and they hang out over, you know what I mean? How do you keep that?
Some of it's just, you got to look at who's running the show, a guy who lives with 2 raccoons, a guy that's still wrestling at tournaments with the kids. I mean, there's a lot, like I'm not compared to a lot. I'm not the same guy. So they're like, there's kids that are like, hey, that need the fancy shoes. Grant Cook, he likes nice shoes. And they're like, people be like, Kelly don't even care what shoes, if he even has shoes, he'll pick them out of the bin and just put them on and wrestle, so all that just fits together. And being, I don't know, I've taught a lot of alternative ed too before at different places. So I like to find something about each kid. Like Timmy Kelling, the guy loves trains. Like he goes crazy. Kids make fun. And I always be like, let him run out to crazy train and stuff. And you just push it, you just go with it. You find those small things that can involve them, and the kids can talk about, and then they just like it, and you do those types of things.
Yep.
And then, you just have your, I'm lucky. I just find there's always something added on, and it just like something simple, like these raccoons got so big, and it just adds to it another thing that brings me with the kids, and brings the team together. Or, just finding certain things about kids. You got to know something about them. whether they like trucks or they like to work on them or they like to do this or that. And you hammer that and that seems to help.
Maybe you answered it, but how do you keep, how do you keep the cool kid? How do you connect? I shouldn't not keep. How do you connect the cool kid with the weird kid? do you know what I mean? How do you make them so that I understand. I see how you're keeping them together because, you're raccoons, but you also bench press over 300 pounds and you're, 49 years old, right? How do you connect your cool kid in the school right here with that strange kid you got on the team?
It's gotta be, it's the thing about winning is we need everybody. And as we've gotten along, they've realized that everyone is important. We can't let them get pinned. You got to work hard, and we need them. It can't be, oh, he's worthless, we don't need him. No, we need them all. And I preach that from day one, and it's really starting to sink in. Like, everyone's important. We got to make sure we're getting these guys the proper work. This guy is, hey, you got to not let that weird kid cut any corners, because we need him on Saturday, and I think that really paid off. And in the state finals, I mean, there was like Cole Andren. He probably never dreamed he was going to get pulled up and have to wrestle that match, but it turned out he did. And the guy wrestled like crazy, and he was he's a kid that they just, hey, we need you. You got to work hard, and he did, and I think, just selling that to your whole team, your best guys. Hey, we need every single guy. We cannot afford to lose one guy. Mm-hmm. That guy that if you say you bully or you're mean to and he quits, we lose to Ellsworth because of that.
Right.
Do you want to lose or do you want to win? And I'm pretty strict on that, on making sure that mentality is in there. And I'm not, I'll be honest, I don't like, and I don't think we have any of that type of that kind of stuff. It's just, I just never have been around it. If I see it, I let them know, hey, you're a leader. You got to lead, not bring the guy in. We need him, like, right. And they understand, like, yeah, I know what, like Walker and Pinard, them guys, they know what it's like to lose.
Right.
As a team, they were good individuals, but they were at the lowest point. And now, and Timmy Kelly, the same thing. I remember he came back from state. He did a little speech and he said, I was here at the worst and now I'm here at the best, and getting them to understand, like, you need every single body in there and they're all important, just like I'm important, you're important, they're important. And they might be the guy that win you that one match. And now that we've been there, they see it and they understand, like, hey, that is true. Right. If we get one guy to not get pinned, that changes everything, Mm-hmm. So getting them to believe that, and then, making them push those guys and push each other, and then just, having fun and enjoying it too. I'm a fiery guy, but I'm not, I get fired up for practice and go hard, but I'm not a negative guy. I can be, like I tell my wife, I said, I love state, the individual state, because when the kid walks off the mat, it's the last match. I don't have to like tell them, hey, this is what we got to work on. I can just right. say, hey, it's over. We did it. You did the best you could. You either won or lost, but awesome job. You worked hard, did this. And I don't have to worry about, hey, I got to pull you in the corner and tell you what you did wrong or what we got to do better. No, I can just, and it's hard for me. I was like, I just gotta, it's just a good feeling that you can relax a little bit on that, but staying positive in a room, but being hard is two things. Like, when you see something, you got to call it out, but I say it, they'll think I'm serious as ever. And I'll say some crazy stuff when I'm showing something and then say, get to work. And then they're like, what's this guy talking about? Or what, just something funny. Yeah. I'll talk about, a make-believe girlfriend Walker has or something, and then he gets so mad, and the kids will laugh or whatever, but they know, hey, when it's time to be serious, it's time to be serious. But I like to throw some funny things in there. Sometimes they catch it, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't know because they just don't know. Because, like, a lot of them I think are probably scared of me at some points, and,
Sure.
and others not, So it's, but I'm the gym teacher here at the high school, and first quarter, I had a bunch of the wrestlers in a gym class, and then I tell the kids that I was like, it was like preseason workouts, I'd be like, for gym, hey, we're running 6 miles today. Thank the wrestling guys, the kids, like I was making them run like 6 miles for gym, and these guys are like, the kids all hate them. They're like, why these wrestlers in here? So we're doing tire flips and with the sledgehammer I got out there, the track coach is like, man, you guys are running a lot. They look like they're pretty good. Maybe some of these guys will join track. I'm like, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
So.
Oh man,
Mike,
Keith,
I
this
gotta
is
ask.
awesome.
Yes, I agree. This is awesome. This will be the last question from me here.
Okay.
Steve might have a couple more things for you, but I just have to know how emotionally fulfilling was it, not just for you or the team, but for the Amery community when you guys won team state?
Oh, it was huge. I mean, people were texting me. People were showing me texts from people. I mean, it was incredible. And the whole thing, I'll be honest, the team state was insane, intense. I mean, even though, because it was in a small, you had the old school down in the pit gym, and the Amery fans were insane. The Prairie du Chien fans were insane. The Kiel, everyone was pumped up. The emotions were insanely high. I could have slept for a week afterwards, I mean, it was intense as could be, and I don't know, I guess actually after that, I was talking to Scott's dad, Bob Markle, and he said, how did that compare to, everything else you ever did, with national titles, world medals, whatever. And I'll be honest, I said, and I thought about this a lot. When I win a world medal, whatever, it's for me. I win it for my wife or whatever. I tell her that anyway, but she always laughs. But I'm like, I win it for us, and that's great. But and I won the stuff in the nationals for the college or whatever. But I said, where have you ever gone to a place where you can stop a 34 or 35-year streak and then be the first one to win team state? I'm like, it was the best moment wrestling for me. And it's like, when I win something, it's for me. Here, a whole team was able to win. It was awesome, and I'll be honest, I don't know who, if it was Vinny or one of the boys. If you see the picture, they're picking me up. I was like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
I was like, and then I just went with it. I'm like, I ain't fighting it, whatever.
Right.
And I'll be honest, it was the greatest moment of wrestling I ever had. I'll be honest. We put 4 years of dedication to get this done. Everyone was bought in. Ingham and Hopkey, Mike and Byron did everything they could for the last, whatever, 7, 8, 10 years, whatever, to make this happen. And it was amazing. And to see all the kids that they can now, they can, the rest of their life, they can bring that up. People like you guys, you still talked about the 91 championship, at St. Croix. I mean, it's like I tried to explain to them years ago when I first got there, like, when you win, you're going to be the first people ever to do it.
That's right.
That it will live with you forever. When I moved back up here, you would have thought I just won state. They were still talking about 91 state championship I won. I'm like, what? Because that's all they remember,
right,
was what I left as. You were that guy, that wrestling guy, and they'll be them forever. And it's just so cool to see that. And then actually, we went back to the hotel and we stayed over that night, and we were actually done by like 4 o'clock or whatever. We got back and we were going to order some pizzas or whatever. And the guys go in the pool and they literally start picking up all the coaches and throwing them in the pool. So they come down to get me. I run in my room and I lock the door, and Byron's banging on the door. Byron Hopkins, let me in. I let him in. And he does like counseling or whatever. So he's trying to trick me like, hey, Mike, you should just give yourself up and let him get you. And I'm like, no, I ain't going. I'll wait here all day. I ain't going. They ain't throwing me in the pool, He's like, I would just change your clothes. Just put on your shorts. They got you. Just run out there. So I just threw on the shorts and ran out there. They threw me in, and then they went and threw every single parent in.
Wow.
In their pants.
Nice.
And the lady from the front came to tell them to calm down, and they started to grab her, and she's like, no, don't throw me in. Just keep it down a little bit. You're doing fine. They threw, my wife likes to tell me this because they threw every single person from Amery in the pool except my wife. And she's like, you know why? Because they said they got too much respect for me. So I was like, whatever. But everyone, and they're a great bunch of kids. We had a great time, and that pretty much everyone getting thrown in the pool, no one getting hurt. I think the people who were staying there, like that were around, were like, what is going on? They were scared to death. They're like, who are they grabbing next? But it turned out to be great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for that answer. I just had to ask because I was thinking about it, and you think about 35 years of losing to Ellsworth and 9 team sectional appearances in a row and not making it to team state, and Scott passing. And it almost felt like when you guys won team state, I think that's why I like Amery so much. It probably almost felt like there was 35 years of weights just lifted off of everyone's shoulders when that happened.
Oh, it was definitely that. And it just, I'll be honest, after we beat Ellsworth, the weight was lifted off a lot of us, and it was important, and the kids knew it. The town, they wanted to do it, and people wanted to see it. And I can't emphasize enough how much that meant to the community, and just, it just getting it done. I mean, I'll be honest, it was a great moment. It could be the top moment I've ever had. I mean, you just got to think 35 years, you're putting that, and then the team state never happening. How do you compare that? You just 23 really, and you add the coaches and guys, Vinny, like 28 people's lives are changed forever. Whether if you do something, usually it's just yourself, you change
right.
one, it doesn't really mean that much to other people. This one here, that combos out to a lot. And I'm just looking forward to I don't take a break. The AD was like, he doesn't know me. He knows me. He's a great guy. He's like, oh yeah, make sure you take a break now. He don't know. I haven't took a break in like 25 years. So we'll be going full steam, and we're going to be looking to repeat next year. That's the goal.
Love to hear it. Steve,
Nice.
You got anything else?
No, Teague, I tell you, I didn't even we'll have to ask this next year, Coach. You'll have to repeat so I can ask you about wrestling a pit bull at elementary school at recess when you were in Chicago. But
yeah, I could give that one real quick. That's worth it. I'll go super quick, but a lot of people.
You got to save something for next year. But go
ahead. I could go for an hour more, but I'll get this. This is a good story, real quick. But I worked in elementary school in North Chicago, and I was working the lunchroom, and the kids run into school and they're screaming, and the janitor, I remember, said, "Kelly, go see what they want." So I run out in the schoolyard. I see 100 kids on a playground equipment with a guy. I keep running a little bit. All of a sudden, from under the playground equipment comes this pit bull, charges right at me. I don't know what to do. I'm kind of scared. Dude, I just sprinted right at it. We met right in the schoolyard. I grabbed it by the back of the neck. It sat down. I put it in like a rear naked choke and held it. They brought all the kids in the school. But to make a long story short, what happened was this pit bull comes in the schoolyard. It's ripping up some kids. It gets one girl and it's ripping out her hair, and it rips out. She's got a weave and it's playing with the weave. A teacher comes out. It's on another girl, whatever, and beats it with a chair. The garbage man comes over and helps the kids all up on the playground equipment. And everyone's in the school watching, and I'm holding this thing, and I'm like, it's okay. I don't even know what happened. I'm like, it's okay. Put the kids in the school. The garbage guy's helping the kids all get in the school. I look up, the whole school faces me, and every kid at every room's looking out there, like thinking the dog's going to kill me, and it's actually, I can see, I'm like, please don't bite me, and it's actually nibbling on my ear, and I got in this headlock, and I'm like talking to it, and it's just a big jack. They were trading, I'm sure fighting, Well, the janitor yells out and he's like, Kelly, just hold on. The cops are coming. Like 15 minutes, the cops show up. He looks at the dog. He's outside the fence. He's like, Kelly, hold on. The dog catcher's coming. Like 10 more minutes go by. The dog catcher comes. He got the deal to put around the neck, and then that pulls. He gets close to me and throws it to me. And he's like, Kelly, when you go to put it around the neck, it'll probably try to bite you. Well, and he runs back.
Oh, no way.
The music teacher comes out of the school, grabs the thing, puts it around the neck, and I let go. And everyone, the dog catcher, the police, they all come around, and the dog catcher's like, we got it. And the janitor is a friend of mine. He's big dude. And he's like, you ain't got nothing. And he's swearing at the guy. And the police is like, gonna arrest the janitor because he's going after the dog catcher for not helping me. And needless to say, I saved the day on a little bit of luck, but people were like, man, you're insane that you ran out. I was like, I was in the middle of the schoolyard. If I would have turned around, the dog would have been on my back. It was just, they're like, I can't believe you just grabbed it. I was like, I didn't know what else to do, and it was all a lot of luck, but it goes for another, they gave me a nice award for that from the city. So it was really good. And like 5 kids ended up in the hospital from that. They all ended up all right, but they were like scared to death for about a month there.
Wow.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I someday when I get the book, my mom gets that done. I'm going to come back on here and promote it. I can get some great stories.
Oh, jeez. Wait. Yeah. I can't wait to hear those great stories because we don't have any right now. Right. That's crazy. Well, cool. Well, Teague, I don't have anything else unless you want, hey, just so you know, Mike, I usually try to nail Teague with trivia. That's kind of our Margaritaville, so to speak, as far as trivia. And I Teague, you want me to end with trivia? Is that kind of the?
Let's hear it.
All right. So it's Amery related. Are you ready? I'm not going to ask you the last time Amery brought home a trophy from state because none of us were alive when that happened.
Wasn't that like 61? You talked about it, I think, on the podcast.
1960. Yep. Took second to Coleman. But that's not it. This is Teague. I know you'll get the first one. You know that I always ask a 2-part question because the first one's easy. Amery has a 4-time state champ. It is
Hunter Marco.
All right, Hunter Marco. Right. He. I got kind of. Well, there's a bunch of questions in here, but if you get these too easy, I have one for you. So it's kind of like as you get them right, they just keep getting harder.
Okay.
He wrestled in college, right, for 2 different colleges so far, and the other one. I don't know if he's a senior now, but who did he start out wrestling for?
I thought he went to Minnesota.
He did. You know who he wrestles for now? He just transferred.
I do not know.
I believe the Jackrabbits, right? South Dakota State.
Yep.
Oh, South Dakota. Okay.
All right. So here's okay. I figured you get all those, right? So here's the hard question. Teague, I want to see if you get it. I looked at all of his state matches. So he had it's like 3 times 4, that's 12. He had 12 state matches. All of them were pretty much blowouts. He pretty handily, right? But his closest match was in the finals as a junior at 126 pounds. Can you name the wrestler that he beat only 4-2, his closest match at state? This would have been, let's see, 3. It would have been
2015.
Correct.
Yeah. I was looking at these results because, oh my gosh. I know one year he pinned Taylor Elliott from Prairie du Chien. I think his senior year he beat, I know he beat a kid from Bloomer Colfax. I'm trying to think of
I know this one.
I'm trying to think junior year who he beat 4-2.
4-2 in the finals.
At 126 in Division II.
In this team, I'll give you a hint. This team goes back and forth from D2 to D1.
From D2 to D1. So Portage?
No.
Oh no, it's Mount Horeb. Is it Mount Horeb? Oh my gosh.
Coach, who do you got? You want to give him a little?
You know what? I was wrong. I was thinking it was the Wrightstown kid.
No. It's Wisconsin Lutheran.
Oh, it's Tepra Wright.
Tepra Wright. Yeah.
I was thinking Tepra was from Wrightstown for some reason.
Same colors. Same colors.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we were recruiting them over Parkside. I remember that.
Tepra Wright. Yep.
I literally looked at that yesterday. God dang it.
Well, I that's right. I kind of started off easier, but I keep adding different layers just in case you get them too easy. Then I got something to back up with. But Coach, I tell you, this is awesome. You're awesome, man. I'm inspired just listening to you. So great job. Congratulations.
And
Thanks, man.
Congrats on Team State. Congrats on the longest podcast record now too.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Might have to make it a two-parter, but I tell you what, Coach, people are going to be listening to this one for the stories, one for the entertainment value, but two, there's so much great content in there for coaches to learn from and grow from. And really, that's why Teague and I do this podcast, is we just want to help do our part to give the coaches something to help better their programs with. And you did that. You did that today with all your information.
Yeah,
so
it was awesome.
Well, thanks a lot for having me on. I had a great time. I don't always get to talk wrestling, and my wife's sick of hearing the stories, so it's good to talk to somebody else. So, man, I appreciate everything what you guys do, and it's awesome, man. Thanks a ton.
Yeah, you tell her we're going to have her on, and the title's going to be "How to Be a Wrestling Coach's Wife."
Yeah, she would do it. Oh yeah, you get some stories there, I'm sure.
Have her tell the best stories from her perspective. I would love it.
Yeah, that would be interesting to hear.
But yeah, again, Mike, congratulations. Thank you for coming on. I think that's pretty much what we got for this evening. So with that being said, have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.